missing too. Speak for yourself. Yes.
Guys ready? I'd like to welcome everybody to our March 20th, 2024 Bruce Township's Board of Trustees meeting. Can we get a roll call, please?
Tremblay.
Here.
Philbrook.
Here.
Giorgio.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Kraft here.
Stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thought it was going to be a quiet meeting. People. So everybody, the board members had a chance to look over the consent agenda. Is there any additions or deletions or changes they want to make? I have one I wanted to add to item 7L. It would be the Romeo Wastewater Committee to be reformed. Anybody else? Not, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is that a motion, Mike?
With the amendment as noted.
Motion to go ahead and approve with the amendment? With the amendment. Second by DeGiorgio. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to comments from the floor. So at this time, if anybody wanted to speak from the audience, they're more than welcome to come up to the podium. We would prefer that you just keep your comments to 3 minutes. If it's due, you guys can wait for because we're going to have a hearing for you guys. So for unfinished business, we can talk about it at that time.
There's no hearing.
Well, we're under unfinished business. If you guys want to wait until that time, we can have it at the same time if you want. It's up to you guys.
I mean, you're running the meeting, I don't.
Yeah. Why don't we just wait until we bring up the unfinished business under the RAS vacant land rezoning, and then we'll talk about it. But if anybody else wants to comment, any other comments?
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Platavoy. I reside at 72255 Fisher Road. I am here as a Bruce transplant. I fell in love with this area many years ago when I was a Romeo school bus driver. Fisher Road was my favorite. I love the diversity of Fisher Road. You had new big homes on large lots, you had a smaller sub tucked away, lots of open farmland, an occasional old farm homestead. I lived in Armada for years before moving to downtown Romeo. My partner, a lifelong Bruce Township resident, and I had the opportunity to receive 20 acres of his family's farmland. He has lived on this farm his entire life, except for time served in the military. I tell you this so you may understand my partner and myself have a true love for the land and the history surrounding it. We started making plans to build something that would meet all of our needs on the property we now owned. While owning 20 acres allows us to put up as many outbuildings as we wanted to, we did not want or could we afford to do that, as well as create a home for ourselves. Upon much research, we found a barndominium would meet all of our needs. Knowing there was no such building currently in Bruce, I came to the township offices for guidance. The building department has been very helpful and professional throughout this whole process. I am encouraging the board to ask all departments to educate themselves on barnos and their purposes, as I feel some single-family home requirements need to be adjusted for barndominiums, or as I built, an agricultural barndominium. I would also like to inform the board of issues I have experienced with our assessing departments. I received my temporary C of O on the morning of March 12th. Within 30 minutes, a Bruce Township car pulled up to my home. 2 women came out and I approached them and asked, "May I help you?" They responded that they were from the assessing department and walked right past me. I extended my hand to introduce myself. They shook my hand and continued to walk right into my home. They had no badges on. They took no effort to tell me their names. They just walked into my home with a clipboard and made themselves at home. They opened doors, checked every room. While in the living part of my home, I asked what their purpose was, and they said to verify bedrooms and bathrooms. The funny thing was, when the building inspector was just there, he had informed me that he does that for the assessing departments. My deceased husband built a few homes. I believe this is my 6th or 7th new build. I have never come across this before. I was frankly dumbfounded. The next morning, I called our surrounding communities' assessment departments.
You have 15 seconds, Kim.
Okay. Well, then I guess I made my point. But there was another issue I would have liked to have addressed, and I'm sorry that I didn't have the time to address it. Thank you.
Anybody else like to come up for public comment? Now we'll close public comment. We'll move on to item 5A, which would be hearings and reviews. We're looking at a public hearing for the 2024-2025 budget for general, fire, and ALS, and improvement revolving fund. So at this time, I'll call public hearing to order at, say,
6:08.
6:08 p.m. So at this time, does anybody have any comment regarding the public hearing at all? As far as, now would be the time to speak. Not, we'll close the public hearing at 6:08 p.m. Everybody had a chance to take a look at the budget?
Yep.
Any questions?
I believe it's consistent with what we discussed during our budget workshops, so
At this time, does anybody want to entertain a motion?
I'll entertain a motion to
I'll second.
approve the budget as presented.
Motion by Tremblay,
I'll second.
second by Smith. Can we get a roll call, please?
Giorgio.
Yes.
Milbrook.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. Smith.
Yes.
Now we'll move on to item 6A of unfinished business, which would be the RAS vacant land rezoning. Gentlemen, if you have the opportunity, you can come up.
Good evening, trustees. I'm Justin Raz from Raz Building and Development. I'm representing Strategic Business Park at 33 Mile Road in McKay in Bruce Township. Just wondering, do you guys have in your packets a graphic that looks like this from the planner?
Yes, we do.
Okay, because I'll be referring to that document tonight. So we were in here in February to the Planning Commission. I'm going to give you just a brief rundown of what I broke down for them that evening. Just a little bit of history, because I know some of you are familiar and some of you are not with the documents that govern our property as far as zoning goes. Back in 2008, we entered into a conditional zoning agreement with Bruce Township, creating 2 zonings on the parcel. The northern portion of the parcel at the time being about 80 acres, we zoned into RM1 residential multiple with a limit of 170 residential multiple units in that zoning district. The southern end of the property, which I believe at the time was about 13 acres, which was all of our frontage along 33 Mile Road, was zoned M1, manufacturing, which is similar to all the zonings to the east of us and to the south of us across the street. Everything's zoned M1 out there. The entire piece of property, 98 acres, was zoned M1 at the time, but when we entered into the conditional zoning agreement in '08, that's what we changed the zoning to. Since then, in 2012, we did an amendment to modify zoning again. The 13 acres on the south end of the property along the 33-mile road frontage, we actually increased the size of that up to about 34 acres. We have a high-pressure gas main that crosses the property from east to west, and I believe that's noted on the graphic. We increased the volume of M1 property in that amendment to the zoning agreement to grow the volume of M1 that we had. We still had the RM1 north of the gas line. We still had the volume of units that we originally had in the zoning agreement. Then we did a second amendment in 2015, and that was to clarify and add an allotment of sewer for our project. As time went on and the sewer ordinance came into play, it was first come, first serve, and we went in and entered into an amendment that discussed how we would purchase sewer, at what price tag and things like that, and what timelines. So there were some conditions placed upon that amendment. We did a third amendment in 2017 to zone a good chunk of the M1 property to C2. So like I had mentioned before, we had approximately 34 acres of M1. We sold some to Trilogy Health Systems, and they built their health campus. And right around the time they were opening, we came in and zoned about 22 of those M1 acres to commercial 2, C2. That sat that way up until 2021. I think most of you were in office at that point. We did our fourth amendment. And that fourth amendment brought us to the configuration that you're seeing on the graphic that I asked you if you had today. So we reduced the volume of C2 acreage down to approximately 11 acres. We added around 29 acres of M1 property north of Trilogy's Health Campus, Orchard Grove Health Campus. And we shrank the RM1 property down to approximately 31 acres, and we sold it to Aragona Properties. They have since come in and gotten engineering approval to do their homestead project. Part of that project, they have two entrances. One is on McKay Road on the north end across from Cloverfield, and one is on 33-mile road, which intersects our two driveways, pretty much dead center, and enters their project. We granted them an easement. We still own that land. Since we did that zoning change in '21, we've sold the 29 acres of M1 that I discussed north of Trilogy. We've sold one of the C2 parcels that you see on the graphic, which is the actual corner by the roundabout, the intersection of 33 and McKay. And we have one parcel left where our office and warehouse stands. It's approximately 6.5 acres. And when I came into the Planning Commission, we had a very nice discussion regarding what we were going to do with that. But in order to do that, I need to rezone it back to M1 again. So we went from M1 to C2, and now we're going back to M1. So essentially, I'm here tonight based on the Planning Commission's decision to bring me forward to you to ratify this rezoning. Now, keep one thing in mind. After a vote this evening, we still have to enter into a fifth amendment, which is the same process that we've used for all the other four. Your attorney reviews it, our attorney reviews it, and I believe the clerk and the supervisor would sign that. So again, tonight we're here to get a vote, positive vote, to go ahead and follow through with what the Planning Commission recommended. Now, I also know that you've received some letters from BTA Apartments attorney, for Donna Mann, You've received a letter from our attorney, Michael McInerney. I believe those letters have all been reviewed by Christine Anderson, the Township attorney. And ultimately, any amendment or modification to the original zoning agreement is between Strategic Business Park, which is our company, and the Bruce Township. Nobody else on the land has the say in what we agree that we do with zoning on this project. So I think our letter explains that. I think Christine Anderson's letter backs that up. I'd like the opportunity to answer any questions that you may have regarding the zoning. We had a 6-0 vote at the Planning Commission, so hopefully we can get this business completed tonight. We do have a client that is ready to close with us if we can get the zoning change done. We have some splits to do, and obviously the amendment. We've discussed a few other things. I think Mr. Philbrook and Mr. Tremblay are aware of the idea that we can put conditions into the amendment that we would suggest. And the reason we would be suggesting these is because of what is existing out there. We have Trilogy to the east of this parcel. We have the homestead north of it. And in looking at our client's preliminary site plan, we've discussed the fact that some of the items in the zoning ordinance could be considered impactful to the other developments around us. So what we would recommend as far as considerations or conditions to this amendment is to actually attach 2 sections of your zoning ordinance to it and writing in language regarding some of the permitted uses in the zoning ordinance to limit those uses. We've discussed this with our client, and I have a list of those uses that we can discuss once we get into the amendment. But the biggest thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to be a good neighbor to everybody around us, and we're trying to keep noise and any noxious issues to a very, very minimum. So if you have any questions for me, please go ahead and fire away.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Reyes? Okay,
I have
please
a
go
couple
ahead.
questions, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I'm looking at the same drawing that you're looking at.
Yes.
Could you tell me specifically where that driveway is? Is it between the two C2
Yes.
parcels?
So we granted an easement through the C2 parcels to get back to the one labeled RM1 in the homestead. So that goes right through the center of them. The center line of that road is the property line of those 2 parcels.
My next question, if you don't mind on this one. So you want to put it back to M1 for manufacturing, and you say that you have a client. Can you share that information?
Yeah, absolutely. These 3 guys behind my parents here are the client. Metro Concrete is the name of their company, although I don't know what they'll be naming their project. They have a preliminary site plan that I've seen. They plan on proposing, 2 flex industrial buildings on it and some indoor mini storage.
This isn't going to be a facility that's going to have cement trucks coming in and out?
Not at all. Not at all. No, and actually, when you take a look at your zoning ordinance, I don't even think a cement truck plant, say like Toy Products or something like that would be allowed in the district.
Ed, you have a conceptual drawing of what they sent through, one of those?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It should have gotten it.
Thank you.
It was one of those added email packets.
So the flex industrial that they're proposing would be very similar to some of the buildings on Cordy Drive. The suites would be for lease, be for most of the uses in the M1 district. Although we would go through and discuss with the attorneys, what the restriction would be. The main thing we'd be restricting would be outdoor storage.
Anybody else have a question? Mr. Reyes?
Yeah, let me start with is I think the planning commission got it wrong when they approved this, because they, in addition to looking at the master plan, you got to look at the practical, what's really there. And what's in the M1 district to the east is a senior housing unit, a residential unit. And what's to the north, RM1, is a homestead. So in addition to the conditions that you've stated, I would be willing, ask you if you would entertain additional conditions to what you propose related to some of the concerns that were stated by the impacted party to the north.
We can discuss anything. I make no guarantees that we can condition, but we can discuss anything.
So I thought about this for a bit, and I think what I would like to see done is, because this is all fresh and new to the board, different from what was at the planning commission. I'm not suggesting it go back to the planning commission, but I would suggest that maybe 2 board members work with you guys to look at what would be palatable conditions and see if we can come to the agreement with that.
I don't see a
And I
problem
know
with that.
you
As
and
long
I-
as we can be expeditious about it.
You and I and Mike have discussed some of them, but I
Sure.
think there's some additional ones that you didn't state that would be of interest, that we would like you guys to entertain.
Well, keep in mind, the 29 acres to the east of the Homestead project is an unconditioned M1 piece of property. And that's also just north of the Trilogy campus as well.
Correct.
Unconditioned.
Correct.
I don't really see how this one is much different.
Well, because when that property was sold, it was C2 to the south. And now it wants to go to RM1, or not, it wants to go to M1,
Okay?
which is different. And the clients of the north had issued some concerns, some of them that I think are reasonable concerns on their behalf.
As long as it doesn't negatively impact our clients or our ability to operate a business that is reasonably allotted in the permissible uses of M1, we can talk about anything, as long as it's expeditious, because we do want to close on this parcel. We were slated to come in last month, but I think that we had, some documents that came in last minute, so we're running a month behind at this point. But we can discuss conditions.
So would the board be willing to entertain having a couple of us work with the RAS?
Strategic
and
business
the
partners.
strategic business partners that you guys are, outside of this meeting, to discuss some additional conditions in addition. They have proposed to Mike and I eliminating some of the uses in the M1 and some of the special land uses, which is a great start.
I have no objection.
You and Mike?
That's what I would suggest,
Yeah.
if Mike is willing to do it, if you guys are willing to do that we could have a subsequent meeting.
That all works for us. We can agree to that, providing we get a yes vote this evening in order to move the process forward. We have to split this land. I think we should be able to come to an agreement on the amendment, and this is what we've done in the past. When we did the amendment for the sewer, our attorney worked for about 2 months with township officials, us, and Siebert and Dulowski in order to get that amendment right. And that was after a vote.
Yeah. I'm not worried about the legal part of it. I'm worried about the content of it
I understand that.
more than anything.
I understand that. And again, we're concerned about the content too.
So the motion I would make is that we would make a motion to approve an Amendment 5 to the zoning agreement to rezone this to a conditional M1, subject to the conditions mutually agreed to between Mike and I and Strategic Business Partner. But that would be the board authorizing Mike and I to go ahead and do that.
Or,
I don't know if that was actually a motion or not, but
Yeah.
is that a motion?
It's like a yes, but. It's like a yes, but we have to agree to the conditions. Because it's not just a straight rezoning to an M1. It's M1 with additional conditions that would address some of the concerns of the neighbor to the north, potential impacts to the neighbor to the east, without putting unreasonable requests on strategic business. And I think Mike, I know Mike well enough that Mike and I can probably work with these guys and hopefully get to a good place, but I don't think we can do it tonight here with the board. I think it needs dialogue back and forth. So my motion would be to approve.
Well, can we hold off on the motion? Because we're actually going to make a motion to either approve or deny the rezoning, and we still have other public comment, right?
Oh, I see.
Allowed to have other people.
Okay,
public
okay.
comments.
With all due
Okay,
respect,
then-
we had a
We can
public
make a
hearing at
motion
the
and then-
planning commission.
Or we could wait to make the motion. Yeah, I'm good either way.
Yeah, I just rather write in the motion.
Okay.
We're going to motion in favor.
So that's what I'm thinking anyway for potential.
He's saying he had a public hearing.
Well, I'll withdraw my motion for now.
It's not a public hearing, but we held public comment regarding this. Now, keep in mind that the strategic is the applicant, so that's why it's not a public comment for him. He's got, being that he's the applicant, it's not a 3-minute public comment speech, so appreciate your time, but we would like to hear from, whoever else might want to speak on it at this time, so.
Should have done that in the public comments, Mike.
Well, it's open, this is during the time that we're going to discuss this hearing, or this agenda item, so. Does anybody want to speak in regards to the rezoning?
Frank Aragona on behalf of Bruce Township Apartments. This is just a superimposed picture blown up of what our project is going to look like when it's done. It'll be 170 units. There'll be approximately 300 to 400 people living here. This is our main entrance. Most of the people that live in this site will be using this entrance at that easement that he talked about here between the two parcels
Off of 33 Mile Road.
off of 33 Mile Road. The other one is more of a service entrance off of McKay. But most of the people that live there will be using this. We have a feature office here in this area there that's right at the end of this boulevard entrance here too. Our main concern, and he's absolutely right, there's M1 here, there's M1 there, there's M1 across the street, there's M1 everywhere, right? But this is our entrance where we were anticipating on the fourth conditional zoning agreement that there would be C2 here. If it's just straight M1, it could be a big old building like this, blocking view and detrimental to the functionality of the roadway too, of people getting in and out of this project. There's another perspective of looking down the road there, what it'd look like going down the boulevard. I mean, it doesn't look right. There's got to be some conditions on that, and that's our concern, is trying to protect our rather sizable investment here too.
Have you seen the conceptual drawing that was recently submitted?
I have not, actually. I have not seen that. That's somewhat a downfall of the process. We don't get to see some of the things, or some of the behind the scene items that we can get our hands on. We're subject to the public comment sections of these meetings.
So your thing is mainly the appearance of a large building on that boulevard?
Yes. And being that, this was designed with the C2, and it had accesses off of this easement road into each one of these properties. I think anything M1 should have its own entrance off of 33. It shouldn't be shared with my apartment complex. And a manufacturing use shared with the RM1.
That you guys don't technically own that easement. That's a joint easement between the adjacent property owners there. Technically.
We don't own it, but we have an easement over it.
Right.
A permanent easement over it.
Which
Property
they,
for access.
the other properties have the same right to share that whether it be.
This one does,
Yeah.
and this one, which was supposed to be a C2.
Would have the
D2,
same-
But we're kind of changing the game here now, right?
Yeah.
I think it would look odd. It'd be like putting off of the subdivision up here where they live, putting an M1 use up here. It would be strange to go through their access to get to it.
Frank, let me ask you, I mean, in the back, I mean, on the east side of your apartments, you've got a huge area where it's M1.
Right.
What is going to be the difference if there's a big building there as
I'm not
compared
sharing
to?
an entrance with them. I'm not sharing an entrance with them.
So it's
And you're right,
basically,
there could be a very big building here, right? But it wouldn't be my main entrance to my property here.
I mean, I think that if it, that photo doesn't look so bad. I mean, it is, we got to understand it. This is not our residential district. It is basically an industrial corridor that we entered into back in 2003, if I'm not mistaken, we do our IFTs. 2007. So this is our industrial corridor. It's not a residential corridor. So if it's not industrial or manufacturing in that, what would you prefer to see there? More houses or apartments?
Well, no, I'm not saying that he has to do any restrictions on
Well, I'm saying on the front piece that we're looking to rezone, what
I
would,
would prefer to stay C2, if that's what you're asking. It seems like there's plenty of M1 as far as the eye can see. And like it or not, this is your industrial corridor, but this end of it has become very residential, both with my site, which is coming up, you don't see it yet, just a bunch of dirt moving, but it will be very residential, the same across McKay also.
Yeah, Mike, at one time, that was all industrial, but the character of that property has changed.
that's why we're still talking about it. We are listening to what you got to say. I mean, and there was a conceptual drawing that they were proposed to put in, building in that if it was going to become M1. I did go down and I drove down to the facility they currently have, and I took some pictures and I looked at the overheads, and it's absolutely something that we definitely do not want to see. It's more of an industrial business is what we were looking at, and I was going to be basically opposed to it. So on your behalf, I mean, we're trying to do our research, the best we can to make it as palatable for everybody, not just you, but the applicant at the same time.
I understand, I appreciate that.
And
I truly appreciate that.
we do have to take into consideration, it was our industrial corridor, and then the residential's kind of moved in on it, and we still need our industrial corridor basically for tax base, at the same time. So I'm not saying we're going to make our decision based on revenue, but we need to take a look at it also. And I think that maybe Mike's on the right page if we can put a committee together with coming up with some restrictions and, possible, the applicant would offer up some kinds of restrictions, I guess, whatever. Conditions for it.
Certainly appreciate it,
And
if you could.
Let me
Maybe
ask you a question. You said you have not seen the conceptual drawing.
I had not myself.
Why don't we have,
I have.
Dominic
I
has seen it, yeah.
have. Dominic, Aragona Properties.
Hey, Dominic.
so you've seen the.
I have seen it, yes.
Okay, so you still have concerns with the conceptual drawing that was presented?
Not so much with that concept. Obviously, there's a lot to work through for that.
So,
What worries us is if it flips to M1 without any conditions, it can be this. It can be a storage yard. A storage yard, as an accessory to use, is not a special land use under the M1 zoning.
I think it is. For storage facility? Indoor
Storage facility is, but storage as an accessory to the use, someone with a
Ancillary.
heavy machine shop, someone with building materials. Granted, there's some new ordinance language around storage, but that's not a special land use.
I mean, storage ancillary to the,
Correct.
Ancillary
Storage
to the
as an
business.
accessory to the use, yep.
I'm going to offer
I
up
would
a,
hope that these conditions aren't just personal to the Razes, that if it turns and gets flipped again, that it would be
Oh, yeah.
binding upon future.
whatever conditions are agreed to would flow with the land.
and it also, it would be worded that if it did not meet the conditions that we did have, it would be reverted back to the C2. I think we have that opportunity to do that also, so.
Okay.
The other thing we would do with the amendment would be to attach the drawing to make it part of part of Amendment 5.
Okay.
I know,
Or we would request that. Maybe the applicant doesn't want to do that, but to me, that would be an important part of Amendment 5, just to come out straight with you guys. So here's what I would suggest. Take a look at the conceptual drawing. Send your feedback to Mike and I, and we'll take those under consideration.
All right.
But in the end, it's up to the applicant to agree to the conditions. But if we can't get to an agreement, we may not agree to the rezoning, but I think we all have to be reasonable, all three parties, in
I
trying to
agree.
get to a
I
solution.
agree.
So take a look at that conceptual drawing and give us your feedback regarding it.
Okay, we will do it, yeah. All right,
Okay.
well, any other questions?
anybody got a question for Frank or Dominic? We really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
No,
for coming.
thank you for letting us hear us out.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
So just a couple notes on what they said, guys. If you look at the conceptual drawing, the main entrance for the bulk of the M1 property does come off of 33 Mile Road, not on Homestead Drive. There are two buildings that will have entrance off of Homestead Drive. Our building and the building that our client's proposing just north of that. That is the property line that we'll be dividing when we come in to do the splits. It's right on that curb cut entrance off of Homestead Drive, which is also right across from the drive that accesses the C2 property on the corner I referenced. I understand that this is their main entrance. It was a sticking point for them to have an entrance off of 33 Mile Road through our C2. I do understand that there is a difference between M1 and C2. However, if you take a really close look at the way commercial construction is built and the way manufacturing construction is built, they're not too far off. If you drive around the back of pretty much any strip plaza, gas station, convenience outlet, whatever you want to call it, the front of the building is the beautiful facade. We can do that on the frontage of 33 and Homestead Drive. When you get around the backside of it, it's a more economical approach. I don't see a huge difference in building type. It's just simply use from C2 to M1. So keep that in mind.
I got a question. I noticed that I did see on the conceptual drawing there is a curb cut off at 33 Mile Road, but from my kind of recollect that there was no more curb cuts allowed on 33 Mile Road?
That's not true. As long as you're not within 125 feet of another driveway or an intersection, I think you're okay. And we have enough distance between Homestead Drive and Orchard Crossing Lane in order for them to do that curb cut.
But the Macomb County Department of Roads basically has not given, you still got to get, obviously.
Yeah, we got to get a permit for it.
No, but I did some previous work, and I did talk to the road commission, and I showed them where that drive was.
There's no issue.
There is no issue.
Okay. I know there were some issues across the street, they weren't allowing any more curb cuts. Okay.
Okay, so my motion would be a conditional approval of the rezoning, that Mike Philbrook and myself work with Strategic Business Park and see if we can arrive at some conditions to the rezoning that would be reasonable and reasonable given the current planned use to the north and the residential to the east.
It was contingent upon the committee to come up with an agreement, you're saying, for usages and conditions?
What the board would be approving is you and I to work with Strategic Business Park to see if we can come to an agreement, and if we can, then it's approved.
Support.
One more thing, can we revert it back to C2 if we can't make that? If we make
It doesn't
the motion?
change. If we say no, it's C2. So it would be, if we get to an agreement, then it gets rezoned, and all the conditions would be contained in Amendment
Okay. Motion by Tremblay.
5. You're saying no?
Pardon me?
No, I was answering her question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I think that's a fair way to do it.
We can work with that. We'll work with you.
Okay.
Carl, did you have a question? It's not public comment, you know, so is it going to be quick or?
Yeah, there's been a couple public comments already, so.
Well, no, there was just, basically, we're talking about a whole agenda item. The public comment is basically open and closed already.
Okay, why not have the meeting, then bring the results back for a vote? The public won't have any ability to put input in if you're making additional conditions on this proposed change. But you're putting a new proposal back together. This is not what the Planning Commission presented. This is a different process. I also think the proposed rezoning is not consistent with the new residential use in the area. I think, Mike, you mentioned the fact that this is no longer an industrial area. This is a residential area. There's senior housing to the east. There's residential property, multi-family residential property to the north. Over to the west, there's a clover field. Heck, even to the south, there's 3 homes there. That's a residential area. It just happens to be in our master plan being titled an industrial area. It's probably time to have the master plan updated to reflect the new residential law. But I would strongly recommend that, and I'm not even sure if it's legal. Obviously, the attorney's not here. But why not have the meeting, bring those results back? If it's successful, it's successful. Vote on it.
Well, thank you.
Let me explain the process. The process is we had a public hearing, and that was at the Planning Commission level. The Planning Commission made a recommendation to this board to approve an M1 without conditions. This board has thought about that and said that's not the right thing to do. So there's no need for additional public comment. The public comment was already had. And what we're doing is we're strengthening what was already approved by the Planning Commission to make it more attractive for what's already existing there. So I don't necessarily agree with Carl to bring this back to the board. The board is going to make a decision on if they want Mike and I to work with Strategic Business Park to come to an agreement.
And I'll read in regards to, you said about the law, we did get communication. This has been sent to the attorney, and the attorney has had a chance to respond. I just read one sentence that is basically the subject was originally zoned RM1 at the time of the original conditional rezoning. Therefore, the township has the absolute right to rezone the subject property in compliance with Michigan statutory law. So it's already been to the attorney. We've done our research and done as much as we can. We've gotten all the background, anything like Mike was saying, to listen to what's going on and to try to make the right decision. This same subject, I don't know if you know, was at the on the agenda last month, and it was tabled till this month, as it was. So, and it is still our industrial district, and everywhere around there, even Marco and Dominic said it's surrounded by industrial. You know, a lot of areas across the street to the northeast. So we have a motion by Tremblay, supported by DiGiorgio. Is there any other discussion?
I have some comments.
Okay, well, now's the time.
Okay. All right, so first of all, I just want you to know I did go down to the parcel and I took a look at it. I am not comfortable myself with it changing from the C2. I think that the fact that we already have residential in there and that both the RM1, the Homestead project, the senior housing project, we're under the impression that was going to be at a C2. Looking at that, to me, would be a better option since you are allowing a residential. I understand that we have had that zoned as industrial. That was the whole point of the corridor. But now you've changed the game plan by allowing residential on that corner. I'm not comfortable with that, so I do have a question regarding Mike's motion. A yes vote on this means that they're going to get that rezoning pending the conditions that you set forth.
Agreed upon conditions, right?
Does that come back to the board for discussion, or that's it?
Basically,
You're entrusting Mike
That's
and
it.
I.
Any other discussion? Not, can we, you want to repeat the motion, or did you, are you good? I just want, can I hear it again? I just want to make sure. The motion, one more time,
Okay.
please.
Moves for conditional approval, rezoning amendment to M1, subject to Mike Tremblay and Mike Philbrick, and the strategic planning
Business partner.
the business partner meeting to address concerns, reasonable,
Conditions.
carried already, given the current balance use to the north and to the east.
Yeah, one of the things that I've thought about is requiring some kind of screening or buffering to the east. Because when M1 goes to M1, you don't have to have that. But I think since it is residential, that would be something that we
That
would
would be part of the
discuss.
conditions.
We would discuss
It would
that
be up
with
to the
strategic
applicant to
business
bring up.
partner.
Yeah.
Is there any buffering between that senior housing and what you are proposing to go back to M1?
That
I
would be
just
something
have-
we
I
would
have a lot of
discuss.
concerns
That's
with
something
the
that we would
residential.
discuss.
The senior housing is zoned M1 with a special land use.
I know, but
It's
it's still.
M1 to M1.
Okay, thank you.
And there is nothing, again, it can be part of conditions, but we're not really looking at site plan, because when we do have site plan in front of us, then we can make those conditions
I don't
also at
think,
that time.
I don't think it's a good use of time to discuss conditions here because they're fresh.
Right. I get
But
you.
Mike and I are very well experienced in this. And you either trust us or you don't. But if you don't, you vote no. If you trust that we'll do something reasonable, you vote yes. And we worked with Strategic Business Park on prior amendments too, so the world hasn't won yet.
Okay, I'm fine with it. There's no other discussion, can we get a roll call, please?
Smith.
No,
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Philbrook.
Yes,
Kraft, yes.
Yes. Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome. Touch.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Marco, thanks for coming in too. Guys, appreciate it. Carlo. Frank,
Good,
Dominic,
Joe.
see you later. You want to give him
Most of the people for that.
that?
Most of the people were for that.
Yeah. We can set the, right, we'll move on to item 7A, to set the budget amendment hearing, meeting. Did you have a date in mind on that, Susan, I
I
think?
was thinking Wednesday, is that the 20th? Can you do a daytime meeting?
Yeah.
Because it'd be nice to have Rhonda here, if we could do something in the morning even, while
Wednesday, what date?
27th, you said?
Wednesday, 27th.
Wednesday, March
yes.
27th?
So, yes.
Just as long as it's not between 12 and 2,
So could we do it at 10?
Yep.
What is the
Good.
subject matter?
This is for our budget amendments.
Oh, budget amendments, okay, to close the books.
Yeah.
Frank, you good with 10?
Yeah.
2 o'clock, what time?
10, I think they said.
10 a.m.?
Yeah.
Chief, you got it on your schedule, okay?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'd be better in the afternoon, but I'll make it 10 o'clock.
Rhonda has to leave that week, too, so it
So 10 a.m. on,
would be 27th, Wednesday.
Do you want to make that motion then, Susan?
Sure, I'll make a motion to set a special budget amendment meeting on March 27th, 2024 at 10 a.m.
Support? Yeah, we can go all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Susan. Move on to item 7B, which is our Washington Bruce Romeo Parks and Rec 2024-2025 budget. And we had Clara Russell, the director, and Chair Bob Billick.
You're gonna give them,
Probably.
okay.
You want it?
You guys all have copies of the...
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
No, I don't know if anybody in the audience may want.
those we're going to have to do that about. Here, I put them, I tried to be proficient,
Yeah, efficient.
efficient. Okay,
For them or for me?
nope. But we can hand them out later.
Yeah.
Just the last two. Hi. All right, I'm Claire Russell, the Parks and Recreation Director, and I thank you for letting me come and talk to you tonight about our budgets. So I think we're starting with Parks and Recreation first.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question before we
Yes.
start? This you gave me, Bob, did the other people get this too?
Nope, that's what we were debating, whether we'll pass those out. Should I pass those out right now?
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
Thank you. Just a correction, the name is B-L-A-Y on the top.
Oh, no, mistake one. Okay.
A lot.
Thank you. I was unaware that was this.
This is what Bob gave me. This is, yeah, you guys should get a copy of this too. Or you have that.
Question and answer.
That, yeah, that's it. Yeah. This other attachment was the very last question I asked, right?
Yes,
Related to the treasurer's concern.
yes.
Yeah, but everybody should have the
Did you
answers.
give
to
Mike
Mike, thank you.
his documentation?
No, that's okay.
Okay,
I thought it was in their packet, but
hold on a second. Well, if I give it away. So I'm missing one copy, unless someone's got 3 copies up there of something.
No, I got 2.
So I'll tell you what, Mike, you're missing yours.
No, I've got mine.
And you have the other.
Yeah, I don't know if, I just want to make sure everybody had what Bob gave me earlier, which was my end.
Okay. So, with all that information in front of you, what I thought I would do is just do a brief tour of our budget, and then we could go back to the questions
Yeah.
or hit them as we go through, unless you have a different thought process in mind.
I'm good.
Good? Okay. So, starting with Parks and Recreation, I guess the first thing I want to say to everybody, because there is a lot of information that we passed out today, this is all on our website at rwbparksrec.org in the document center. So if you just look under commission or under budget, you will find all of this information. So our fiscal status, which is the front page of the cover of the brochure. I think the biggest thing that everybody's been looking at lately is our fund balance. Is it too high? The auditors in the past have labeled it very healthy. It continues to be very healthy at this point. It's over $4 million, which is a very big fund balance to have. Looking at why we have that fund balance. Over the last 8 to 12 plus years, we really have been in a savings mode. There's just been so many changes that have been happening to the Parks and Recreation Department between the interlocal, the recession. We built parks, we built playgrounds before the recession started, and that really made us take a stop, and we really started saving money at that point. Then we got into some turmoil with the tri-community. Are we staying together? Are we not? All that discussion and noise has been happening around us, as you're all kind of familiar with. So we haven't done any major developments. Last year we did the Washington Township accessible playground, and that has really been our first big development that we've done
in any time lately. We've been doing emergency fixes and maintenance and everything like that to try to keep up, but that just kind of tells you where we're at and why our fund balance is so big. But with that said, we looked at, and we'll be talking about this, we looked at putting a bid out for building a pavilion pickleball and a larger pavilion down on the south end of town. That bid came back and it's over half of what we have in our fund balance. So that, we believe, is pretty excessive, and we are renegotiating and looking at that completely. But when you look at development, it is expensive. If you have to bring water somewhere, if you have to bring electric, all of everything, I'm sure you all know that $4 million can go very fast. And our millage is at 0.75. It's really set up to, build developments, but not, it also has to maintain everything that's there. It has to run the department and then assist with the program. So that's just that part of where we're at and why our fund balance is so high. When you look at the front page again, it will show you we have restricted and assigned funds. Our assigned funds at $1,250,000 million. We started doing years ago so that because we had a big fund balance, so that people could look at it and just not think that there's just money sitting there for no reason. So that money is really set aside for future use and development. At that time when it started, it was there in case our millage ever didn't go through so that we could continue to run. I'm not sure how that looks now, if that money would be used for that, but that would be a decision that the townships and our commission would make at that point. Restricted funds, we do have some donated funds from Ann Newby that we'll be using in a park sometime soon. Operation funds, we need to save our operating funds from April through December prior to tax collection, so we have enough money to run until we bring those taxes back in. And then this year, it was decided that we put the $700,000 towards the Gilcher Christman Pavilion in there so that it is in the budget in case that project goes forward, but up to that point. And then we also have $50,000 going towards the new pickleball court. That has been approved by the commission, so those will be going in this year. But again, when we put the bid packet out, it was put together as an entire document. So we really have to make sure, can we break it out? Can we piecemeal it? And if we can, how much will it cost and what's it going to look like? Can we do it in phases? Is it going to be done all this year? Just all the questions that we'd answer to try to figure out where we're at. But we didn't want to not include it in the budget so it didn't look like we were doing it. So that is why we have that fund balance set aside for those projects. So you go to page 2, well, same page, the cover really says a lot. It actually shows our budget. Our budget this year is balanced at $2,774,177. From that, our revenues come from the millage and then also our programs. Our millage basically covers the department operations, including all of the full-time staff and benefits, our park and facility improvements and developments, and then all of the maintenance that takes place in our parks and our facilities. Programs are a completely separate part of the budget. We set programs up to support themselves. The millage obviously doesn't pay for any of the programs, but full-time staff are paid from the millage, so there's a little bit of crossover there. But if you took away the millage, could we still run the programs? Yes, we just have to change it to a certain point, well, to a lot of point. We'd have to really look at it or decide what we were going to run and not run. But as far as our expenses, pretty much the administrative salary and the benefits make up 15% of our budget. Our department operations, which is everything that we need just to run the department, is 9%. Improvements and developments, 26%, but when you add the capital developments this year, it brings it up to 41%. And then maintenance, 21%. And our programs, we always budget very conservatively, so we have it at 29%, but those programs will exceed that, or have been exceeding it throughout the years. So again, our budget is at $2,774 million, but when you add those capital development projects, it's $3,524 million. Our millage funds, when you go to page 2, this just lays out a history, our voting history, millage history. Our millage is up this year. It will be on the ballot Tuesday, August 6th, 2024. And from that, again, Washington and Bruce, the mix is always anywhere between about 75-25% how the cut comes in, because Washington Township obviously has more residents and bigger households. If you base for the .75 4-year millage, if you want to base it on a $300,000 home, it's about $113 a year you would pay to have all the opportunities for Parks and Recreation. Moving to page 3, this is a breakdown of our administrative salary and benefits. I don't know if we want to stop here and have a discussion or just come back to it. This year we did use the MRPA salary survey and COLA to create increases, as well with those, because a lot of Parks and Recreation departments are ran as a department within a municipality. We're kind of unique that we are not, so we have our own accountant. So we had to look elsewhere for those prices, and we looked at Indeed as well as our past accountant in other areas that we'll get into later. When you look at the director and the accountant, both of our salaries come from Parks and Recreation as well as STAR. 85% of my salary is paid out of Parks and Rec and 15% from STAR. This year, the accountant is 75% of her salary will come from Parks and Recreation and the other 25% from STAR. It's just a way to save the residents money so that we can do the admin part for both. Our benefits this year, we had to look for new health insurance and such, because when we were a new entity, we had to go from underneath the Washington Township umbrella and we had to find our own. So we worked on that, and I believe it's very comparable to what we've paid in the past anyway, so we were happily surprised. If you go through, on page 4, it is a breakdown of our actual operations, the cost, office supplies. One of the big things that we're doing this year is we are bringing our computer system, really improving it and updating it. It's something that has needed to be done, and we're working on that. And so between Parks and Recreation and STAR, we'll share some of those costs. We're switching to a Microsoft 365 because the licenses that we currently have are going to be no longer, they're expired. So we need to move forward. Of course, that is expensive, no matter how you look at it. We have, different costs. I should say that anything that is marked in yellow on your page, those are items that are over or will be amendments, or looking that they will be amendments as we go forward. So we'll be, as a commission, discussing them and going over them, approving the amendments, and then we have to bring the amendments to the board for approval. So we will do that. But I just wanted to mark them so you kind of knew where we were at. If you flip to the next page, which I'm sorry is not numbered.
Page 5.
5, thank you. Does that have, sorry, I'm not looking right at the document, I'm looking at my notes, but this has a list of all the capital developments and maintenance. Is that what you're looking at?
Yep.
Okay. So what we did, one of the major things that we're again looking at is we're looking at a large pavilion so that we can use it for outdoor programming space. And when we went through COVID, we found out that we really needed that space, or it really would have came in handy. We feel like the residents of Romeo Washington Bruce could use it for like a Camp Rotary, how graduation parties or what have you, as well as any of our sports teams and programs and events that we have, having covered space is just premier, because the weather never cooperates with us. But that is one of the things that we're doing. I can concentrate a little bit more on the Bruce Township. One of the main things that we need at all of our parks is we need tree care. When we cut back on our maintenance, we really cut back on that. So this year, and with all the storms and everything, I'm sure if you walk through any of the parks, you see the limbs and the different things that are down. We obviously try to take care of anything that's dangerous, but it's just playing catch up with all of the winds. So we need to really, really concentrate and take care of that. We want to get the water fountains out there for the people and for the pets. We need the culvert fixed still at Orchard Hills Park. All of the parks, we're looking at the signage and signs that we have there. We would like to, and will be, doing the cameras, lights, and electric, especially at Orchard Hills Park. Crystal Diamonds needs its driveway, needs some major issues, so we'll be re-graveling it and a lot of dust control. We will be hopefully looking at the sledding hill and trying to lengthen that or make it not as fast as it has been in the past. And then for shared items, we're just looking at purchasing another truck, because we were trying to replace all 3 of our trucks. We did one this year, we plan one this upcoming year, and then another one the following year. And then we're looking at generator with lights so that we can use that at our outside programs, and a special events trailer. So major items, but not major items. And that's one of the things that the commission, and when we go through the questions, we've really been tasked this year on a lot of different things. So we know we're behind, but we know where we need to go to, and we're going to get there. We need to look at the park system as a whole and see what do we need where, and what property is available, and where should we be looking at building in what areas, or, you know, in a plan, whether it be our master plan is still not to the county or the state, so it's not on file, but it will be this year. But it gives us another opportunity to relook at it before it goes in, and we plan to do that before the end of June. So when it comes to capital developments, we have them in sight. Maintenance, we have the maintenance broken down to our 2 sites. We have a Washington site and the Romeo site, and then we do our parks. Nothing major about those. Overall programs, I won't go through each program, but we have 6 different departments in our programs. We expect to, again, conservative budgeting, we expect to not be in the red. So, but we really don't plan to make money, but our programs that do make money, they help cover the costs of the programs that do not make money. And then our sponsorships that come in for our brochure ads, they help cover the costs of our special events, which we've made a little bit grander since COVID. We have found that the residents are enjoying it, and we're just adding more and making bigger. So, trying to think what else. Program fees, sponsorship, and grants pay for our program expenses. The percentage of our permanent part-time staff, which we have about 25, it comes out of the program budget on individual line items, as well as depending on what the job is, if they're opening and closing buildings, some of their pay might come out of maintenance, but the majority of it comes out of our programs. The goal for our dance and aquatics, these programs aren't necessarily set up to bring in revenue, but they're set up to pay for themselves, because we want people to be able to enjoy dance or aquatics at a very low cost. And we now do have an individual line item for sponsorship so that it is more transparent. As in the past, we used to have it under the brochure revenue, and then at the end of the year, we would take that money and decide what special event it would go to, normally like in 5,000 increments. So but now you'll just see it. We've moved it to the special event line, so at the bottom line of the special events, it will just add to the revenue so that it covers the expenses. And that's really it. Again, anything that was in yellow, those are amendments to be or should be. We're getting our final numbers so that we'll have a better idea. And then those will go in front of the commission and then come back to you.
Thank you, Claire.
Questions on the Parks and Rec side before we go into Star?
Mike, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm looking under your general programming. This would be page 9D. And it's 664, and it's interest. Where is that generated from?
So because we have to have a spot for miscellaneous revenue, interest is from our investments or our bank account that we have, which when we go into questions, we'll be talking about our investments and where we're at right now with them, or I could cover it.
Thank you.
Mike, you had a lot of questions. Obviously, you have questions.
Well, I was going to ask, did you want to go through Star and then go through the questions?
Maybe, because it'll cover both, yeah.
Okay.
Star will be
Just go
quicker.
through Star and then we'll go through the questions.
Okay.
Okay, so the STAR budget is was balanced at $745,126.
It's actually a separate agenda item. Do we need to change agenda items, or do we do one at a time?
I think, why don't we have a review everything, and then I think we can handle the motion separate.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and continue with the Star, then we'll just open it up. We'll vote on it when we...
Claire's on a roll.
Yeah, I got this going. Okay, there is an issue on the STAR, on the front cover. The Bruce millage, it was pointed out that that is the incorrect number. Now, just know that the STAR budget is balanced. We didn't have to take any money from fund balance or anything like that. So the additional money, which is $64,000 that we're anticipating getting from Bruce Township, will just go right back into our fund balance. So,
The right number is 154,828 then?
okay, the correct number for Bruce millage is $155,226. 155,226. But it balances at $809,524. So what I will do with the commission's approval is we'll make a line item under expenses that will take that money straight to the fund balance. So,
Can you explain why? Explain that.
well, I would love to, but I'm
Are you
not
talking about the
exactly
millage?
You're
sure.
not following it, that's.
Oh, like
I'm not
what happened?
following
Okay, so.
What happened with the Bruce millage?
Well, it's just a mistake. Honestly, when I normally get the monies from each of the townships, they tell me a certain amount, I write it down. I would love to know why I wrote that number down, but it was
clerical
absolutely
error,
a
then it's
clerical
number?
error, yeah.
Okay.
So luckily, in the favor of that the funds can go in and it's not for more.
Thank you.
First time, I have to say, this is the first time for that. But, yeah, so again, if it doesn't make sense, the Bruce millage, $155,000. Okay, all right.
Gotcha.
All
All is
right,
well.
so the STAR budget is balanced at $809,524. Again, the Washington and Bruce is normally right around 75-25 for the difference in millage amounts that we bring in. La Casa, we have just budgeted low, the $20,000 because we've been getting it. We've got smart revenue, which we have a breakdown as we go further, and then other revenue, which would be interest that we bring in from our bank account and savings. Our expenses for STAR are really, it comes down to, it's pure service. So the expenses are the vehicles and the staff and fuel. But we'll get into that in a second. But if you look at the STAR's financials, we also have assigned amounts that the auditors had suggested that we do years ago. And for STAR, we did an assignment of a 2-year emergency operating fund is what we're saving for. We have $650,000 in that, and then $150,000 in future capital developments. One of the things with STAR is because 1/3 of our revenue comes from SMART. If SMART's millage ever were to go down, we would lose 6 of our vehicles, we would lose community credits, municipal credits. So we really have to look at STAR because we are dependent upon another organization to actually run. So that is one of the reasons that we started doing an emergency operating fund and made sure that that's in our assigned funds. We have, with STAR, the same thing, from April through December, we need to operate for 9 months. We set aside $560,000 to do that. It shows you here our PNC checking, people-driven credit union, that's our one investment that we have right now, but we are moving forward and we'll be making additional investments we'll talk about. STAR's millage is a 4-year millage also at 0.25. Tuesday, August 6th. If you have a $400,000 home, it really is $50 a year. So I don't know if anybody is not familiar with STAR, but it is free transportation for seniors and persons with disability. All you need to do is call, make reservations. We will come to your home, pick you up, take you to a medical appointment, take you shopping. We do have shopping trips for groups too that we do out of district. It's another great organization. So moving on to the next page, that is the breakdown of the revenue. Again, it shows you specialized service is a grant that we got through SMART. We get the municipal and community credits, each township and the village. Normally, they have to assign that money to us so that it comes to the transportation department. You don't have to do that, but you happily have done it in the past, so, and we thank you for that. Our millage revenue, again, the correction is not made there, but we had covered that pretty thoroughly. Moving on to page 3, our administrative support, that's where you see the director, myself, and our accountant and human resource. And the split, again, we have one salary. 15% of my salary comes from STAR, and 25% of our accountant human resource comes from STAR, because she basically handles the audit for STAR as well as the administrative and payroll. We have our benefits and staff overhead. You'll see that it's broken down for Parks and Recreation and STAR as we go through. Page 4. Page 4 is our expenses. That's basically department support, office supplies, again, the computers, which we'll be working on. We've got meta routes. That's one of the newest things. I think I've talked about this before. It is a real time, so you can see where all of our cars are. We can talk to them, send them schedules on the go. They check in, so we know where the people are. It's a safety measure, and it's just made us a lot more productive once we figured out all the ins and outs of it. Our part-time office and dispatch, we have about 3 women in the office who are working on a daily basis, answering phone calls. It's continual, and it's been very busy. Over this last year, we were at one point, we were like 200% up from the prior years, just because it's taken us a while from COVID and the fear and different sicknesses, but people are starting to really get out there and use us again, so that is a good thing. Capital improvements, we are getting a new bus from SMART this year. We've been waiting for it. It is free. The $2,000 is just to decal it, to put our name on it. The office is more to do with the computers, and the facility overhang, we're just kind of doing a cleanup, and it needs some love. So we'll be working on that this year. Building operations, Star contributes $26,000 towards Parks and Recreation to help us pay for the overhead of the building and the outside and grass and snow maintenance. Operations services, this is where all of our staff is. Star has one full-time operation coordinator. The rest are part-time drivers. We have about 25 of those. All of our office staff are also drivers, so if something happens, someone calls in sick, they can fill that spot. So that is very productive. That's really nothing major there. You can go through that. Our vehicles, I think the biggest thing is our maintenance and repair. We did get a new Star car. We use SUVs, lower ones, so that people have an easier time to get in. Again, we have 6 vehicles. We did add one. And by doing this, our maintenance and repair costs should go low, because once we get a new bus in, we've had a lot of time out, or, using cars more if our buses are broken down. But I should also say that with Smart does all of the repairs on all of their vehicles. So unless it's body damage, we will go through the insurance company if something like that happened, but otherwise, they take their vans and their buses, they fix them, and then they normally give us loaners, or they get it back to us fairly quickly. But that's another reason to look at the 2-year operating, saving that money for that. Because if we had to add even our own fleet of vehicles to make up for those, we would add all of the expense of all of the maintenance that comes with that. And then fuel is always undecided. But so far, knock on wood, it will not be an amendment this year, because I think we got it. So that's really Star at a look.
Thanks, Claire.
Sure.
Okay. Guess we'll move back to Parks and Rec for under agenda item 7B for any questions. Mike, you have a sheet of...
Yeah, I would like if you guys could go through the questions.
Absolutely.
Provided, because I have some questions to some of the answers.
Okay, nope, that's
And maybe
good.
some of the other.
You want them every one read word for word, Mike? Is that this sheet here?
I can kind of
You can
brief it.
summarize.
Yeah. So, timing.
How about if I do this?
Absolutely.
How about if I start?
Yeah, okay.
So one of my questions was about getting an early thing on the budget, and I understand your explanation that there were growing pains,
Right.
complications, and so on and so forth. The reason Gary and I agreed on presenting it to the commission early, or to the boards early, is just to get a peek. I think we understand that you're going to do budget workshops in the commission, right?
Right.
We typically do budget workshops with the board. We had 2 budget workshops. That's why today, when we approved the budget, there was no questions, because we had already worked it through.
Right.
If you could provide the townships with a peek a month before you have to get an approval, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
If in the future.
Yeah.
And I understand that you're doing the budget workshops with the commission, and that's really where it should be done.
Right.
But if you give the townships like a month before it needs to be approved, here's what we're looking at now, we're still working it, but it gives them a sneak peek.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bob, that'll be your job.
Well, we.
Having to be here every day.
We did have not only the budget workshops, which are public, but we did talk about it in a couple of our meetings prior, but then December's meeting got canceled, January's meeting was
Yeah, it's been a mess.
So, that did put us behind a little bit. And again, not having a full board and things like our commission, certainly, some of the people that were working on certain items were no longer there, so we promised to do better.
So how about if we do this as a process, is we'll go through each of the questions and just ask questions rather than have them go through it word by word. So my question would be, are we okay with the budget timing and the draft process? Question.
I am.
Okay. The increases that were stated, they seem large versus, I know, what Washington and what we have with our own union. So I know it raised some concerns with the Washington union, and I asked the question too. And you're saying the salary was done with the Michigan Recreation Parks Association. Was that done as a total compensation package? Because the benefits that are present here they're much larger than private industry, for example, like the 12% for the retirement and the 2% health savings account, as well as getting health care benefits. And where I came from, it wasn't as generous, but I wanted to know, was the comparison done on a total compensation basis, not just a salary basis?
No, it was all on salary because that's how the survey has been. And honestly, in the past, with all of our increases, the benefits have not necessarily always been brought in to look at that because all of the staff that work at Parks and Recreation, I mean, I came into these benefits, we all came into them, and actually they've decreased as we went because one of the reasons we were so high in the beginning is we didn't have healthcare retirement, which back in the day, everybody had the healthcare retirement except for Parks and Recreation and STAR. So we were at a higher rate than 12%, but then we were cut back for that. We've also given up sick days and what have you as we went through, I don't know when that was, maybe 8 years ago.
So do you guys have health care retirement, or is the HSA?
No. Well, the HSA it's a 2%, it goes into HSA. But no, I'm talking about true healthcare retirement, how it used to be, and the townships used to have it. But Parks and Recreation and STAR never did. We're not unionized. One of the things that's a major difference. And from working here so long, one thing that I did learn is that is how our increases, and if you look at the sheet, it will show you the overall increase. I think it's attached to the document, back to 2004. It will show you, or this is how the decisions used to be made when it was a two-person board. Well, what's Bruce getting this year? Well, what's Washington getting? And then whoever got the lowest, that's what Parks and Recreation or STAR would get. So if you look at our increases, I mean, there were 3 years where we didn't get any increases. There were, and again, that was during the recession. I don't think anybody did. I don't think, it's not about the increase. It's about getting us to actual grade level of when you're comparing, and the only way we really can compare is looking at the size of a budget and the population that these other communities through the MRPA or the Michigan Parks, we went through all of them, picked out, I don't know if there's 5 or 6 there, but those are like communities, and then we did averages from that. And those averages are for starting. Like if I left, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't start me, or you wouldn't be looking for a director for less than that amount, or not much less than that amount, because that doesn't show anything about longevity. And I've been here a long time. Nor do our other employees. If you look at the coordinators, those are like really starting salaries when you look at these other departments. It's an average of where they're starting. So when you look at the percentage as a whole of what we brought into this budget, it looks big, but if you look at the fact that we were not where we should be in industry standard, we're not there without looking at benefits. I mean, I don't know, maybe in the private sector they do that. I've not worked in the private sector, I've only worked here. So
Well, one thing that I can add, Mike, is, you know, a lot of municipalities, governmental agencies.
Come up to the mic. So
A lot of municipalities and governmental agencies, the salaries typically are lower, but there's benefits associated with it. So that's what keeps people, or that's what draws people into those types of positions. And again, just to reiterate what Claire was saying, and I verified some of this information on my own as well, looking at, for example, and I know the large one is probably Bernice, the accountant.
that's the one that stands out more.
She was part-time, was hired to replace a full-time employee from her part-time position, but due to the situation with Parks and Rec at that time and the leadership, They didn't give her anything but what she was making at a part-time salary,
And doing full-time work.
converting it to full-time, but, I mean, the pay rate remained the same. The person that she replaced was making, and this is how many, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
The person that she's replaced was making almost what we're asking her to be brought up to today. And when you look at, for example, you look at starting pay rates for an accountant, that's the starting pay rate. Berna's got 20 years experience, or, quite a few years anyway. I don't know if it's quite 20, but a lot of years of experience. So basically, it's righting a wrong. It's bringing these people up to where they should be. And again, trying to make sure that we can maintain the appropriate staff.
So did the commission look at the data that was used to do this and scrutinize it yourself? Okay. I
Now,
haven't,
that being said, though, there's only 2 of us left that were.
I know.
So,
I have a question. The permanent part-time is 25 versus 5 full-time for Parks and Rec, and 25 permanent part-time and 1 full-time for Star. What type of benefits do the permanent part-time people get?
They don't. I mean,
They're just paid strictly a wage?
Yep, a wage, and then,
So that's an efficient way to run,
oh, absolutely.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
You'll find a lot of retailers do that now. They don't hire a lot of full-timers.
Right.
exactly.
That's a
And
positive.
we've eliminated 3 full-time positions since I've been here. So granted, it's efficient, but it doesn't always, I mean, there's gaps. Anytime that, when you used to have somebody in the office, in the front office, that knew everything that was happening, there was a difference than having, 4 full-time or part-time staff who are intermittent and so much is going on. But yes, I mean, we're working with it and it works.
And like when it came to the healthcare, for example, when we were pricing it out, of course, moving away from the municipality under Washington Township's policies, we really expected to pay significantly more. Fortunately, we didn't have to, but we also only have, 3 people that are getting benefits, so, the cost.
Yeah, you have a small number of full-timers.
Right, so.
Okay. And the wages, the raises were approved by the commission, right?
Yes.
And is that part of the budget? Will they be effective with the new budget year?
Yes.
So they're not in place yet?
Correct.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? So this is still under the salaries there, I'm reading the answers to the questions here, and you indicate COLA. So besides the raises, they're going to get COLA also?
Oh, no. What we did is when we looked at the survey, we looked at COLA for the last couple of years to see where we would be, and they were very equal. Like if you took what the survey said we should be at, and we take the COLA for the last 2 years, I want to say, it equaled. 2 or 3, was it 3?
So it's
Sorry, I
not
don't have it right in
It's not
front
going
of
to be
me.
on top of.
No.
That was taken into consideration?
Into consideration.
This was
Right.
all prepared?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I'll concur. I know that we talked about these raises. They went back a couple of years ago, and I couldn't believe that what some of the staff was getting paid was
Right.
way below par.
Yeah.
And we were actually being threatened by losing people to other communities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's when it started, and I know that was one of the things that I had issue with when I was on the commission, is that we couldn't get approved some of the salary increases for some of the people, which I thought was wrong, you know. And I just did hear recently that I think we're maybe possibly losing Star drivers
Yeah.
to go into other communities for
are
$1 to $2 more an hour. So we
Yes.
got to look at this in order, help is hard to find right now, especially
Yeah.
good qualified help.
Our permanent part-time employees have wage policies that we go by. So STAR is one of the subjects that the commission will be looking at for that. And sometimes it's just a matter of raising the starting pay up to keep them. But no matter what, then you have to watch everybody underneath it just to make sure that, someone that's been there for 15 years isn't getting the exact same amount that someone starting is getting. So That's what the wage
But you
policy
guys look
does
at
for
more
us.
than just seniority, though, too, don't you? You guys look at how the person's doing, too, right?
No, we don't. I mean, yes, but that's not there's no merit pay. There's no, you're a better employee than this employee. But if there is an issue, then we take up the issue at the time. We don't wait for a formal.
I do like your
review.
ratio of permanent part-time to full-time.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure their ratio is much better than ours, right? We don't have that 25-to-5 ratio.
You don't have any part-time employees.
Part-time? Yeah, so, and I
Well,
don't know what
we-
Washington is, but I would bet
Yeah.
that they're not at that.
no, they don't. I don't think that they have, maybe in the summer. But it's the only way that Star could run this economically. You know, if you look at it, I mean, okay, if you look at how much we put out for drivers and how much for dispatch, but again, it is, it gives a nice part-time job. They're not there 40 hours. That's what most of our drivers want, and it's good.
Okay. I'm satisfied with that piece, if you guys are. Okay.
All right.
We go to page 4 of the budget, the Gilcher Pavilion,
Yes.
700 versus 300.
Where is that?
Well, part of that was
Over here.
when it was initially quoted, if you will, by the engineering firm. You know, they were looking at what was requested and gave an estimate of what they thought the project would run. Well, then you go a year or so down the road, by the time it got through the various labyrinth of people, then they actually put it out for bid. And when the bids came back, we were all pretty shocked. So as a commission, we decided, wait a minute, let's step back and let's see if we need to go all the way in on this like we had planned. We didn't want to spend, $1.25 million on a pavilion, which is what basically it came back at with electricity, water, and all that. So we started looking at, okay, do we really need water? Again, we do want as large a pavilion as we can get, because when you have outdoor activities, for example, when you had the Halloween,
Yeah. Your brain.
that would have been nice to have a 100-foot pavilion, to put.
Land-wise, that park is the biggest of all the parks.
Yeah.
That is
correct?
a big park.
I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of potential for that.
We even
And
thought
I like
about-
the idea of doing that.
We even thought about possibly 2 smaller ones, but then again, you need a big one, you need a big one. So anyway, we're re-looking at that, and actually, I think in the near future, once we get all 5 of our commissioners up to speed, we want to have the engineering firm come back. One of the people that is not full-time on the commission was working with them, but haven't heard anything back from them, so. But anyway, that's definitely on.
So you guys are taking a relook.
Yeah, and I mean, we did decide as a commission to go forward, for example, with the pickleball courts at Washington Township, because that was reasonable within what we expected. But
So are you guys letting out bids for that one yet?
we have.
I mean, have you
because this-
awarded bids for the
No, we did
pickleball
not
courts?
award.
No,
We're-
this was all bid out as one big package.
Oh, I see.
So that's why we have to go back, and not positive if we need to rebid it at this point, because we're breaking it up, or if we just need to go back to the successful bidders and say, okay, would you be interested in doing this portion of it? We're going to talk to our legal counsel regarding that and make a decision as to whether or not.
So we're optimistic that we could play pickleball this year, or is it going to be next year?
should-
Well, you can play this year anyways, because we have
Right,
courts.
there's just not as many.
Right, that's true.
These we were talking about having done by the end of the year, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So,
While we're on the subject of Gilcher, I'm going to chime in on because I had some questions regarding it too. And I know that going back again, not to keep going back, but when I was on the commission, that we did know that we had a lot of money in our savings account, and we were looking at $1 million pavilion at Gilcher, something, $1 million plus, I think. We were actually looking at $1.1 million, $1.2 million originally, and I was sad to see that you guys are trying to do cutbacks on it and bring it down to $700,000 at the meeting to cut out the electricity and cut out the water. And I just, at this time, and we're going to get one chance to do this, and the main thing was, it's the biggest park we got, centrally located in Washington. Washington Township's got 30,000 people. We want to make sure we do it right the first time. And it's like right now would be the opportunity to build a nice-sized pavilion for the big gatherings that we do currently have, and then also for anybody else that wants to have a gathering.
Yeah, I don't know
With
if it was
water.
$1 million. We didn't talk about $1 million.
Yeah, remember we had them big conceptual drawings that we had looked
yeah.
at, and yeah, it was, and we don't need a kitchen. I agree, the kitchen we can do without, with
Right.
maybe adding on
No,
later.
I don't think anything's trying to be, like, it needs to have the metal roof. It needs to have, I mean, but it's just what part of it.
I'm
If
just-
we do fit, we
And I
just
know-
need some
I think I'm with
information.
Mike is don't cheapen it up.
Don't cheapen it up.
Intentionally.
No.
Right.
And I
We-
mean,
every
Because
one
that
of your
is- that's
master,
centrally located where most of the population is.
Every
And it's
park
a nice
you-
big piece of property.
every one of the parks you have, you've got water and sewer or water proposed to go to each one of the parks, and while you're doing construction, to bring a backhoe and entrench a water line from the water main on 29 Mile Road is a piece of cake. I mean, no reason to not do it all at one time, have it plumbed in and have it.
That was a
Yeah, that was big.
large part of the expense.
I think that's why, we just need to clarify this, all of the bids that came in, because they're, either we have to just take that, maybe, put the bid out, say we want the water, and, because, I don't know, somewhere along the line, it became,
It's a 2-inch water line, and I mean, I don't know what bid I would be more than happy to look at it, but you don't need a meter because it's municipal water. You guys are paying the fee anyways on it. I mean, are the townships are, I guess we could because it's going to come out, but it's not a big deal. I mean, it's a straight shot from 29 miles.
yeah.
We don't
The
different
engineers
than-
made it sound like a big deal,
Yeah,
and the
well,
guys that bid on it
The
did. but-
bidders.
Yeah.
Or the biggest. But I mean, again, no, we don't want to go cheap, and we want it, and maybe it's 2 phases, or maybe it's just done all at one time, but we just need better,
I mean, I agree with you,
Information.
Mike. Water and electricity would be important to have.
But we don't want to sacrifice size of the pavilion at the same
Right,
time.
right,
But I mean, I
right.
get it, but we were looking before, I remember it was over $1 million for that park, that park. Maybe,
I believe you, I was wrong on the.
That park has a lot of potential.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is used so much as it is right now, because it's softball, baseball, and soccer, so,
okay,
plus our events.
that's my two.
We're also looking at fencing out there.
Yeah, we need that.
We need fencing.
All right.
My comment regarding events is I've heard Washington, some people in Washington say we need more events there. I appreciate that we do a lot of events in Romeo, but we've got a history there. We have a beautiful downtown there. But I think it would be nice if we could look at maybe doing an event or two in Washington, maybe one in Bruce or something that.
We
Because the
do.
population is shifting.
Yeah.
Probably more south than north, but it's shifting north. Bruce is growing a lot, Washington's growing probably faster. But it
I
would be
think
nice if
that-
we could do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying just force something on, but something that might be meaningful.
Well, we do. If you, I guess I should have brought, I didn't know that was exactly what you were.
Yeah, that's
looking
what I
at.
was getting at, is that.
Okay, I didn't get that from that.
And I
was
do
thinking you
appreciate the
wanted
stuff we do in
this.
Romeo, and it's great that we do that.
I thought you were looking more at Bruce, but we have written down the events that we do in all of the areas.
Okay.
So we do spread it out. If you look at our concerts, I mean, I think it depends
I
on
like
who
what you guys do
talk
with the
to.
concerts.
So, I mean, we do spread them out. We take them to the different parts. We do park playground programs, but, we're limited sometimes to if there's electricity or there's covering or what have you. So, but we still try, we want people to come to the park. So we have one at each of our parks every year.
Yeah.
And then the events. It just depends what's conducive to what.
Yeah.
So,
I wasn't looking for a specific answer, just
And
a
I
suggestion.
Just have
think
'em.
also, this, and I know they brought it up at their meeting in Washington, and there were 2 events that I know of that were scheduled to be in Washington, but due to weather had to be canceled. And I mean, so there's really nothing you can do about that.
Right.
And what they tend to look at, in my opinion, they tend to look at what's in Washington as basically what's between 26 and 28 Mile. And there's a lot that goes on north of that in Washington Township, in Romeo, but I don't think they're considering that as a Washington Township event. But it really is. I mean, if you're south of 32 Mile, you're in Washington Township. So again, those are things that, you know, just because it's in Romeo, it's really either in Bruce or Washington. So,
But I know what they're saying. And the events that were rained out were, the makeups were even rained out. So it was just,
Okay. I get
you
it.
know, we had a bad year. And I think it's all in your perspective too, because you can talk to some people who live in Washington are absolutely satisfied and other people, but we do try to spread everything out to it, so.
Investments.
Okay.
I know that's been an interesting topic.
Yeah, so
So,
here's the thing with our investments. We've had investments from the very beginning. We had an investment policy. When the new commission, well, before the new commission even came, the, everything to do with investments was just on hold because we were going to wait till this new entity came and then there was going to be a treasurer and it was all going to happen. Well, when the new interlocal, it has been the process that we've all been talking about, a long process, and a lot of work has went into it. And, you know, with the resignations and the resignation of the treasurer, I mean, that's really where the investments are right now. Now we need this new commission to come in, to have a treasurer, to find some CDs that short whatever we have. And Berna actually has some ideas and some thought processes to bring to the commission so that maybe we can just move forward. We have the policy, we just need to do it. We've had 2 of our investments time out during this interlocal process, and that money the commissioners signed went back into our bank account and it's been sitting there. So it's not just this commission that is having growing pains. We were all there for the growing pains of making this thing, and that was a couple-year process before that. So we don't like that money sitting there making no money. $200 or $2,500 in that line should be a lot bigger, you know, for interest that we're bringing in off of those funds that are there. But more importantly, we would like to spend those funds.
Right. I think you
So
kept
it
thinking
goes
it was
to-
going to be invested anyways, and it's just unfortunate taking so long
Right.
to invest in some of the.
But I think
Yep.
that's going to be cleared up very shortly.
Right.
Because all we really need to do is, we have the money on the front cover. You can see the funds that are assigned, those can be invested. We just need to make sure that we have, for STAR, $560,000 so that we know we can run until December. The rest of the money can be sitting in a CD.
right.
Same for Parks and Recreation, you can look at that. So those are just decisions that the commission,
Right.
you know, is going to have to make and just sign to do.
I believe it was November when we finally got the investment policy in place. So, and again, I know Clara was attacked for not investing money, and she has no authority to do that. It's the commission, well, prior to the commission being seated, it was the townships.
Yeah. Well,
So-
we can't change history. We can
Right.
change moving forward.
Right, so, no, we definitely, that is something, and like Clara mentioned, if we've got $2 million to invest, which we probably maybe do.
We do.
Then we can, you know, I mean, we've got a CD at 5%. I mean, it's not bad,
No.
but we just have to get there.
You guys answered my question on the start.
Okay.
Village mistake. And then, I think I'm good. Yeah, the one last question I had is, you gave answers and documentation related to Cindy's resignation and that she had brought up. We don't have time to comprehend it here, but do you guys plan to send this to Washington also? Because they also got a copy of Cindy's concerns.
Yeah, well, currently it's in the packet for our meeting for tomorrow, and we will go over it, and then at that point, we can.
Okay,
The reason that-
I think you guys probably want to do that.
Oh, for sure. Oh, no, they'll get it. And then, again, if
It'll be
the
on the
residents
website.
would like to see it, it is in our packet for tomorrow on the website, but then it will be there, because it's very easy to say things about people when you have a microphone and about our department, but you need to look at the facts and see the documentation behind it so that you understand it, and maybe have more questions and call us, because we're doing everything as transparent as we possibly can.
And I think one of the things that, and I know you guys have all experienced it too, is a lot of you came from the private sector. Things don't happen as fast.
Well, you don't have a benevolent dictator.
Okay, so yeah.
Call the chairman.
Things don't happen as fast, and that gets frustrating. And I think some of Cindy's frustration was exactly that, she's used to running her business, and, things happen when she said they'd happen. And, one of the concerns, was about access to computer systems. Well, again, that was addressed, I know in the packet that you got. But, Parks and Rec lost their IT guy in what, May?
End of June.
End of June. So had to bring in some other people right away, and needed to do some upgrades and things like that. So it took a little bit longer for access and systems and things like that. So, but
Okay.
I appreciate both of your guys' time and effort.
May I ask one question with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. As you were talking, I apologize, I was kind of briefly.
Oh, that's all right.
going through these
It's a lot
answers.
of stuff.
Could you just clarify what Rec Pro is, and is that a third-party entity that brings in the monies? Like you were saying, it says in here, when there is programming, people are paying for it, it goes through Rec Pro. Could you verify?
So
that?
Rec Pro is actually a software program that we have on all of our computers. It's a registration program, so when someone signs up for a program, the credit cards go through that to the back credit card system where it's charged. But it's really our accounts receivable. So any funds that come from anywhere, whether it be a tax check from Bruce Township or someone signing up for dance, it all goes through the Rec Pro registration program. We have numbers in there, the general ledger numbers in there, and then those funds on a daily basis, the deposit is done, and those funds are moved to our general ledger. So there is
Money
not
really
an
isn't
outside.
moving.
No.
It's
No, just the
Just the way it's logged in.
number amounts, right.
Okay.
The only money that's moving is any money that comes in at our front counter. So if someone pays with a check, it goes to the bank every day. Or, we do someone in the front does a daily deposit, somebody else checks it, and then nobody in accounting does, but then they take that information and they have that. So it's really just shows all of our revenues that come through.
All right, reading this, it sounded like it was a third-party
Oh, sorry.
entity that's collecting money on our behalf.
Oh.
And then giving it to us.
Yeah, no.
That's not what's
It's
happening.
kind of similar to what the townships do when the money comes in through our cash receipting program. Now, since we have our cash receipting and our accounting program within the last couple of years under the same umbrella of BS&A, it's a little clearer, but previously it was done a very similar way, where the cash receipts came in through the treasurer's office, and then the accounting department puts them in the GLs where they're supposed to be. So it's just paperwork.
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay,
But
yeah,
Rec
I didn't
Pro,
understand it.
Yeah.
That's why I was.
It also gives us the opportunity to make rosters and do different things that we need at the program. So that's one of the reasons that we continue to use it, but we're trying to get a computer crossover program between Rec Pro and our general ledger in the back accounting office. So it would just be a click of a button, right? And there, that button's coming, which is going to be a minute.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You done, Mike?
Yes, thank you very much.
I had a couple quick, I'll make it real fast because I know we're running out of time. If the budget gets approved, I mean, I would like to see the bids going out on Orchard Hills Park for sure. We obviously had an incident this year with the homeless guy with a gun sleeping in the park. You do have it on the budget for the sign and signage, cameras and lights, and then also the tree to trim the trees back, but the culvert's rotted out. But if we can get the cameras and lights in this, that would be great.
Yeah. It's
I'm gonna
been
push on
kind of it should be there already.
Right, yeah. No, we
it's
had that
also
that's
part
been
of
in
the
the
master
budget for a
plan.
couple of years now. And it
I know.
It should have moved forward already. On
Well,
at least
you
one of
were
those
with
items
us,
or not two of
so-
them. Right.
You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah, no, I get it.
without going into history again.
Are we good on the mulch? Or are we going to need mulch? I didn't see it in the maintenance.
Yeah, it's part of the maintenance that will be,
Wage increases for both Parks and Rec and Starbin, we're bringing them up to date in this
Yeah.
budget then?
going through all of the,
Good.
yeah.
How about a second new truck? I didn't see that in there
Yep,
possibly.
it's in there. It's
Was it?
under the
Capital.
not capital, but the improvement and development. I
Yeah.
think it's like page,
And half comes out of Star and half will come out of Parks and Rec, is that?
no, it all comes out of Parks and Recreation because we don't use our trucks very often for
Okay.
Star. As a
Then-
backup occasionally.
One more quick question. Having a conversation with Bob, we're looking at, I mean, our maintenance on some of our parks have been really getting out of, looks terrible.
I know.
No offense at all to anybody that works for Parks and Rec, but our maintenance companies that we have, I think, are not doing the job that we pay to have them do, and I think that needs to be looked at. I know, even for instance, just we have really bad weed issues, and then we've had brush control issues with the fence rows, and then the lawn rolling was never done properly, I don't think, either in the soccer fields, because they had a small toe-behind roller instead of a
the, yeah. Well,
huge, So
Again.
just- do we have time to rebid those contracts out for this year for those issues?
Well, it is a discussion that is on our topic for tomorrow. I mean, won't take much time to do
Okay.
that, just
Right.
because.
I know it's right in the end of the year, but the unfortunate thing is, I mean, this is something we were worried about, is it's going to start showing.
I know, it's
And-
showing,
Yeah.
there's no doubt.
Okay. All right, I'm done, so I don't have.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
And this is more for information, not related to the budget. How are you guys doing with the leases with the Village of Romeo and the Washington Township? Because I'd hate to see us spending money on capital improvements if we don't know what the lease is going to look like.
Right. So we don't have major capital improvements that are within this budget, but again, just like the 700,000 or putting the Gilcher Pavilion in so that something is showing here.
But
we do have
that's
some
separate from
jobs.
the
So, I don't know, want to
facilities.
answer that
Well,
question?
yeah, one of the issues that the three main things that we're working on is we were working on, and I'm one of the people that's working with the schools on our agreement with the schools. We put our proposal to them to go to their attorney. I touched base with them 3 weeks ago, haven't heard back yet. I'll get back with them. One of the things that's kind of, I think, has kept everybody kind of back is they wanted to wait and see what's going to happen with Parks and Rec. I mean, to be honest, that's one of the sticking points. They're like, well, if this is going to fall apart in another year, we don't, and so that's been a real issue because it's been out there. I mean, it's not like people haven't heard about, what some people would like to see. So that's kind of been a sticking point. Now, the Village of Romeo, again, I wasn't working with them, but the people that were have resigned. And Washington Township, same thing. And again, we're looking at, those are the three main for the Morton Street facility, for the Washington Township Senior Center, and for the use of the school facilities. We've gotten pushback from certain people asking us about, well, why are we paying this much to the school and things like that. Well, what we've been paying to the school is a deal. There's no way we could have the facilities and the use of the facilities that we have if for the amount of money that we pay them. I mean, it comes out to $45,000 a year. We're getting gymnasiums, we're getting a pool, all of that. So again, we're looking at trying to stay within that same price range, but they're also looking at, do we need to increase this, whatever. So we'll see what they come back with. Again, we'll have a full commission meeting
My
tomorrow.
main point was more of a fiscal one, which was I don't think we should be doing capital improvements to buildings when we don't know what the lease looks like.
Right.
If it's $1 a year, sure. But if it's a commercial lease where
Right.
the lessor owns that,
Right.
I would hate to see us do that. That's the
Yeah.
big issue I had.
I agree.
We don't have any capital improvements on any of the leased buildings for this year. Last year was the parking lot, but this year is,
Right, well, we have the computer upgrades.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those you can take with you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but some of it's wiring and
Yeah.
things like that you wouldn't take with you, So, yeah, we don't have any major capital improvements, but,
two
like-
brand-new lift station pumps.
Right.
Good to
I
go
mean,
there.
if something happens, you've got to fix it, right? I mean, if the roof leaks at the Washington Senior Center,
Right.
that's
maintenance and upkeep.
It's maintenance and upkeep,
Wow.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not maintaining it correctly has caused a lot of these problems, or, not
Right.
putting money.
I'm
to
just saying we need to use common sense. but just-
Right.
No, I mean, I agree. I don't, until we have something concrete, which is like, one of the reasons I would like to see a little bit longer term lease agreement, like 5 to 10 years, preferably 10 years. But we also need to look at, are we paying for facilities that meet our needs? And that's something that, we want to look at as well,
Okay. And so at this time, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the Washington Bruce Romeo Parks and Rec budget for 2024 to 2025 fiscal year.
Support.
Worked by DeGiorgio. There's no other discussion. Can we get a roll call, please?
Smith.
Yes.
Tremblay.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. Giorgio.
Yes.
Yes. Motion
guys.
carries. Move on to item 7C, which would be
And
the,
a thank you to both of you. I know I
Well, we
threw a
got
lot
one
at
more.
you guys in just a few days. and
That's good.
thank
Still got
you for
one
your
more,
prompt
Mike.
response.
Oh, yeah, star.
it started to approve yet.
Oh,
Oh,
Can't leave yet.
There's always two.
don't leave.
Motion to approve the Washington Bruce and Romeo Star Transportation's budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
Support.
Support.
Oh, go ahead.
But
Tremblay's support. Or can we get a motion, please? There's no other discussion?
Giorgio.
Or,
yes.
Roll
Kraft,
call.
yes. Smith.
Yes.
Tremblay.
Yes.
And Vogel.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much to the both of you.
Thank you.
We do have one more agenda item on for you guys, but
Yeah.
basically it's an alternate. We can,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you want to introduce Donna Folland for
Donna,
our next agenda item.
she's our alternate.
Yeah, item 7D, let me just introduce, item 7D would be the Washington Bruce Romeo Parks and Rec and Star Commission's, the Bruce Township alternate. So, this is Donna Folland.
Hi, I just, I'm glad to say hi and introduce myself. Pretty impressed with the job these folks did. But I lived in the township and in the village for 34 years with my family. And I have, right now, I'm the chief of planning for Oakland County Parks and Rec, so I have some experience. I have led the development of our last 3 5-year Parks and Recreation master plans, And so maybe I can be helpful. I will if I can.
You have some really big shoes you got to fill, because I know the other alternate.
And
Don't you see him in the mirror every day?
yeah, and also I'm on the leadership team for the Green Space on Prospect Street project that you may have heard about. Hopefully you have. So I'm a big advocate of parks. And I'm also excited that the Star Transportation is a part of this, because I'm also a big advocate for public transit. So I'm really excited to learn more about it. And,
So you all,
thanks. It would be an honor to serve as Bruce Township's alternate to Parks Rec Board.
great.
Thank you.
Got her application. Does anybody have any questions for her?
Were you part of the Innovation Park?
No, that's Rochester Hills.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been there. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Where Addison Oaks is probably our park you're most familiar with.
Yes, okay, yeah, nice park.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to go ahead and appoint Donna Folan to the Washington Bruce Romeo Parks and Rec, Star Transportation Commission as the alternate for Bruce Township.
Second.
Second by Tremblay. Can we get a roll call, please?
Giorgio.
Yes.
Smith. Kraft, yes. Tremblay.
Yes.
And Philbrook.
Yes. Donna, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Claire,
Thank you.
Bob, thank you very much.
Thank you,
You guys have a
guys.
great night, okay?
Have a good one.
We're going to move on to item 7E, which is our 2024-2025 meeting schedule for the Township Board, Planning Commission, and the ZBA. Everybody's got it in front of them. Did you want to make a motion? Do you have a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to approve the 2024 meeting schedule for the Township Board, Planning Commission, and the ZBA as presented.
Support.
Support by Smith. If there's no other discussion, can we get a roll call, please?
Giorgio.
Yes.
Philbrook.
Yes.
Tremblay.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Kraft, yes.
The item 7F is the COLA increases for the TPOAM union. You've all got a packet in front of you. I've talked to majority, I think, about it. I don't think I've had the opportunity to speak with Therese and on it, but we're looking at trying to bring our hourly and salary wages a little bit more up to date. Just kind of give you history. They do have contracts, so in 2021, they got a 2% increase on their contract. In 2022, they only got a 1% increase, which was 22 cents an hour. In 2023, they got a 1% increase, and in 2024, they got a 1% increase. So over a 3-year period, they only got a 3% increase, which is not very close to what our cost of living has increased. If I just go over the past 3 years, the cost of living increased in 2022 at 3.3%, 2022 to 2023, 7.9%, and the cost of living increased last year into this year at 5.1% by the inflation rate multiplier. So between those, just those 3 years alone, 15, it's like almost 17% increase in the inflation rate. So looking at increasing, so the contract for this fiscal year is going to go up 1%. Additional, which comes out to 22 cents an hour. I'm looking to make a proposal at a 4.9% increase, which is 5.9% overall, which would give them pretty much $1 an hour raise. So that's what I'm proposing. You look at the budget sheet that says the general fund, Rhonda does have a wage increase of 6% figured into the budget. And there's a breakdown on the rate of inflation on the sheet that came from the union. Anybody have any questions?
What prompted this, Mike? Was this us being proactive, or was this?
I think what prompted it mostly was when we couldn't hire I don't want to say a receptionist, because our rate was too low. Then when we did finally have to hire a receptionist, we had to hire a receptionist at basically what people were currently working at here, that have been working here for a while. So I think it's just,
We did make an adjustments, though, with that.
well, right, but it's still.
Quite a few
yeah.
adjustments.
I guess my question is, was this proactive our administration to promote this?
It was mostly my,
Because I think, if it is, I think it's a good gesture for the union to show that we work well together and recognize the cost increase.
it was something I kind of had suggested, did talk to the union about it. And I mean, it's not only that, it's just, I mean, we see the cost of living, we see what's
Right.
going up as far as food and gas and, you know, anything you want to do now. I mean, a repair in your house or your car. And we're looking at 1% increase for 3 years in a row, and it's just tough for people to pay their bills now. And we're doing really
There's
well.
some history behind that 1% too, when they negotiated.
But that was terrible economy. I mean, and again, they were working under an iron fist.
I think that we all agree that our workers,
I mean, not going to say it in the wrong way, but just the election wages went 100% increase from last year to this year.
what?
Well, they're up to $200 and some an hour. Last year, they were $100 and some an hour.
Not an hour, Mike.
I mean,
It's for a
$200 and some
whole day.
a day.
And that's for a
day.
chairperson, that's totally.
But they went
that's
from 100 and
That's
something.
like an $1,800.
I'm not saying they don't deserve it. What I'm saying is that there was a 100% increase in a lot
No,
of
that's
this.
not true, Mike.
Well, what is it, 70%, 60%, 50, 40, 30?
It went from 200 to 225.
I don't know. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it, but I'm saying there's a huge increase there, and percentage-wise. It's all, everybody's feeling the
Well, they're not
pinch.
contractual either, so. there's-
Everybody's feeling the pinch everywhere you're looking. Everybody's trying to raise their rates. We're trying to compete with each other. We're just trying to keep and maintain we have good staff. You know, just trying to.
We do.
I'm not.
Good staff.
We're only looking at $1 an hour basically over additional over a 3-year period, which comes out to 33 cents an hour additional over the past 3 years.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I don't know what I can and cannot say because I did take a look at the union contract. I don't know what can be said out in public and what cannot be said out in public.
It's public
But,
information.
I mean, it was negotiated that they would get full benefits. And I think, and the exchange on that, in my understanding, is that they would take the lower wage to get better insurance benefits. And to open it up now and say, well, we need more money because of cost of living, well, we gave that to you. You took that into consideration when we gave you the benefits.
Did we have any idea when we were negotiating this, did they have any idea that the cost of living was going to go up 7.79% or 7.9% in 1 year?
They took the opportunity back then to go
Shame.
from a 3-year contract to a 5-year contract. And the 3 years, had they stepped with the 3 years as it's always been, they would have had that opportunity because it's been the last 2 years where the cost of living has gone up. They would have had that opportunity.
We have the
It
same-
was their choice. They chose
Yeah, but
that.
No, but do they have to
There's also a
suffer
reason that
for it, or, yeah?
There's also a reason that they went from a 3 to a 5-year contract.
Same thing with the fire department, did the same thing.
Whatever the reason was.
The reason was they weren't sure of who was going to be in this administration. They were trying to protect themselves.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But for that, the exchange, my understanding is, they got their insurance benefits, or whatever the benefits were, at the tune of 20%. The
Right.
township didn't have to negotiate that. They could have said, take the 3% or 4% every year. They chose to take the benefits versus the wages. And now, with the last year of this contract, they're coming back and saying, well, you know, we made a mistake, and we really
It's
would like
not
to
true,
have this-"
because I'm the one that initiated it, so don't blame it on the staff. I'm the one that initiated, just to be, I think that the people do a good job, and I mean, I compare with what's going on and what's, you know, neighboring communities are, I think that they should be compensated for it, and I'm not looking for a huge compensation.
And
That
what-
1%, 1%, 1% over 3 years, in the way that the cost of living and the cost, I mean, I know the contract's back open for negotiations next year, so maybe they won't, this will take into effect that they did just get a 4.9% increase when we open up and negotiate.
It would definitely affect the negotiations, and have they all had a say in this? Because the wages are different.
I've talked to every employee in this, that we have working for us
Well, you
here.
went around and told them, but you didn't ask their opinion, did you? I mean, did they get to weigh in on this? Knowing that the negotiations are coming up is what I'm asking.
I don't understand what you're trying to say. We did talk to every one of them. I did go with the union, we talked to every one of the employees about it. I mean, I just don't understand what you guys are thinking. It's like, you know, we're asking for a 0.49% increase over their 1% they're going to get currently.
Well, I do have an appreciation for what Teresa's saying. But the one thing, that exception I have to what Teresa's saying is that no one anticipated the inflation rate where it is. And we're not adjusting their wages to the point of inflation. We're giving them, I would say, maybe a third of what it went up. But I do understand what you're saying and kind of agree with you, except for the rate of inflation has been so high. And I think we need to keep the wages, and the contract does come up next time, and we can negotiate.
Yes.
But am I understanding that correctly?
You have a very logical argument.
I agree on it too at the same time, but I'm looking at the cost of
Am I
living.
understanding it correctly on the wages, the benefits? That was my understanding when I was reading the contract, that there was a give and take, and they.
Because they're
said,
outside the
"Let's take-"
parameters from the state government.
They were going to be asked to pay
State
20%.
guidelines.
That's
Right.
the research I did.
I mean, that 20% was huge. That is a huge, basically an increase in your wages if we don't have to take that back from you. That's huge. And even with the rate of inflation over the last 5 years, they're still ahead. And yes, it's not actual cash in your pocket, but theoretically it is, because you would have to pay all those benefits. So that's where I kind of have, opening up the contract for the last year, perhaps when the contract comes up, maybe they can negotiate something different, but that's just my opinion on asking this to be open just to cover, the last year.
I have a question too about this. There's the 5.9%, but then you also talk about a $1,200 increase.
That's the COLA increase for the past.
So you're
few
doing
years.
two things here?
That would be a COLA adjustment, right?
So you're
That's
doing-
broken
giving
down
them
on,
$1,200 plus the 5%.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, that's what.
that's rate, that's given on that sheet there,
Wait a minute.
on this sheet right here.
I don't understand the 1,200. I don't see that anywhere here.
It's on this sheet, Mike.
Where? What sheet? Is that in our thing?
Yeah. So this is the 5.9 plus they get this.
Oh, this.
And then are you giving them that increase every year? Or is
No.
this a one-time?
This is a one-time deal.
So are
So
they
it's a
getting?
one-time, like retroactive through how inflation went up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then the 5.9 goes into effect the new fiscal year, which is April 1st of 2024.
Is it new?
So explain
I didn't
explain
see
what they're
COLA
getting.
in
They're
the-
getting.
It's not, no. it's
Are
just
they
what he's
getting a
calling it.
$1,200 one-time check?
Yeah, it's a cost of living adjustment.
Yeah, he's basically doing a retro for how long they've worked here. As a way to make up the cost of living increase.
And this
Which
is-
a one-time payment, based retroactive for how long you've worked here.
Now I'm having a little difficulty with this.
And this is how Rhonda broke it down at the percentages on their salaries. And that's why it comes out at $1,200. And it's based on basically the last year, and that's why Buchanan doesn't get the full $1,200, and neither does White, because they've not been here full-time over the last.
Is
They
that
haven't-
new? Is COLA new here?
There is no COLA. He's just calling it COLA because he's trying to,
Cost of living
cost of
adjustment.
living went up so much since, in the last couple of years, that this is why he's calling it a cost of living allowance. It's not something new. He's just calling it as a way to make up the lower pay that they were getting based on the rate of the cost of living going up.
I'll tell you, my feelings, Mike, is that I thought the 5.9 was just the 5.9. I didn't look at going retroactive. Because of Teresa's point is that the employees chose to get a larger benefit by not having to pay for their health care insurance, and they do get a large retirement stipend. I was okay with the 5.9, but the 1,200 throws me off.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking do the 5.9 only, without a retro. Which is over and above what we're contractually obligated to do, but it's in recognition that there was some inflation that wasn't anticipated. But I think decisions were made, as Treese put up, that I'd rather have the benefits and I'll take the lower increases.
Which I get it, but at the time, you gotta understand what was going on around here. And we have a fire contract, the same thing, it was a 5-year contract, and they're looking,
Yeah.
hopefully to open that up in the near future as well. And back when we
Right.
signed it, I mean, I talked to them and told them, I said, this is a 5-year contract, and they all agreed it was the best contract around, but now it's like, looking like we're gonna be negotiating that before it expires in order to try to stay in line with what's going on. And 5.9% is gonna seem like a gem. And that opens up. I know that we're competing for the same employees in a lot of ways, and people are looking at what other employees may be making in other areas. We have a good staff right now. I think they do a great job. I just think that looking at compensation for them, our budget's well, general fund's doing well. We're moving forward in a great direction. I think if we keep moving at this pace, we're fine. But I hate to say just lose anybody, and I'd really like to have other people knocking on our door. If you guys are looking for any help, you know, I wouldn't mind leaving this municipality to come work for you guys. But at this point, it's not like we're open, this is not trying to negotiate at all, and the union's not here to, we're not in negotiations, so I guess at this point, I think that the staffing would take.
Let me ask you this question, Mike. When we did our wage increase for elected officials, we stayed in line with the contract. We did 1%. And I understand that last meeting, we did 6%. We didn't do anything retroactive for elected officials. So I don't think we should do anything different for the employees, consistent with what we've done in the past with elected officials. That's my opinion. And in line with Teresa's is that I recognize that inflation has gone up and that it would be a good gesture to give them more than what's in the contract because of that, but not retro.
I'll make a motion to,
I want to add, make sure Rhonda's added. She hasn't had a raise in 3 years.
Rhonda's not part of this.
no.
But she hasn't still
I
not
do
had a
agree that
raise.
Rhonda probably needs an increase too, but she's not part of this motion right here.
Well, we're going to give a 5.9% increase to our staff. It would include,
What about Mitch? What about Ray?
well, Mitch is contractual.
So's Rhonda.
Well, Mitch works for a different company though. And they're coming in tomorrow at 10 o'clock with their paperwork. Ray just got his increase, just, was it last year? We gave him a pretty good increase, 8%, I think it was. Right?
And there's a difference though too. Rhonda's contractual and she hasn't had an increase since she started with us. That's a whole different ball of wax than.
She's done a great job. 3 years, how can you not give some?
Increased benefits for lower wage increases. I would be okay with being consistent with what we did for ourselves.
I'll make a motion to approve a 5.9% increase for, what do you refer to them?
You just say this,
To the TPOAM staff.
you want to mention them by name? If it would be staff, I guess. We
Why
gotta-
would you, well, so first of all, I think these employees deserve it. They go above and beyond everything. They're always here. They're very knowledgeable. A lot of them are more knowledgeable than us. But if we're going to do the 5.9, it should be 5.9 for everybody, not just, people with a year or more,
Yes,
in my opinion.
absolutely.
Well, they are, yeah, they will get 5
It
points.
should be for everybody
It was
that's
a-
TPOAM.
Yeah.
It was a payment that was under a year, $800 for people that were under a year.
Right.
Everybody under the TPOAM.
But everybody else gets 5.9 except for Ray, which just we negotiated his thing last year at I think it was 8% increase. I think maybe more than that, actually.
So my understanding is this is across the board for everyone, not necessarily just union people?
No,
Just-
this is union.
just
So
the
I
union.
just-
Well,
my
Rhonda's
motion-
not union.
Well, my motion said is the union. We have that meeting next week. We can figure out numbers for Rhonda maybe.
I don't want to do it in front of her. It's when she's going to be here. She was asked about this, and she was so humble, she wouldn't even put a number on this. But at the same time, we're making the approvals. Why can't we just get it approved and be done?
When is Rhonda's,
I think
Does she have a perpetual contract?
I think it's in December.
Yeah. I'm all in favor of.
It just seems to me that if you open up the contract because you have.
We're not, it's going to be an MOU, we don't have to open up the
Okay.
contract.
If you go ahead and do this wage increase just because it's inflation and you don't take into consideration what the township had to sacrifice to get this contract, I don't think that's right. I think that they already got 20% right off the bat.
4 years ago.
It doesn't matter, divide it over the 5 years, you're talking 4% every year.
So you didn't look at any kind of compensation? I don't know, I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but I know that at your job currently, did you get any cost of living adjustment? Did you get any kind of a raise? Is 22 cents an hour for the past 3 years, I think it was? Does that seem sufficient to you?
It's not.
I know it's what was agreed on, but at the same time.
They got a 2% wage for the first 2 years. They also got a 1% on top of getting the 20% for the wages. I think it's, in my opinion, they can wait 1 more year and renegotiate another contract. That would be lucrative or not, depending on how the negotiations go.
How about if we go forward with this motion and then see if we get a second, have further discussion if we need to? Because Susan has a motion that she'd like to present.
I want to make sure Rhonda's name's included. We do, somehow. We got to list each name individually.
Well, Rhonda is under a contract, which we would have to,
Separate motion? and we'll make a
separate, we could do a separate motion, fine.
I'm good with that. Would hate to step in here and interject, but you guys are talking about this. So Rhonda is on a separate contract.
Yes,
Got it?
she's a contract employee.
It's not even an hourly contract.
Oh, it is.
It's
So many hours per week, or so many days per week.
so that is contracted out of the fire and ALS budget, I believe.
Well, so is.
Part of it is.
So is your
Right, so the flat-
secretary's part of this too.
Right, I know. So what is the hourly rate? I don't know. I'm okay with it. I'm just wondering. what
For
the-
Rhonda?
Because it's a flat fee that comes out of the fire and ALS budget. It's not an hourly rate.
And one of the TPOAM.
You're
people
probably
isn't
paying a
his,
percentage of hers, right?
And
It's
Eileen's.
the question I'm asking.
Yes.
Yes, you're paying a percentage of it, I'm sure.
So he's saying that affects his budget.
It does.
No, I'm okay with it. I'm asking, I don't know how you put an hourly rate on it, is the question. I was unaware that.
I think
She
Rhonda's
does
contract has an hourly rate,
It does.
and so many
In
hours
our
per
budget,
week.
it's broken down as a, okay.
I think
You
she's
probably
on-
get a flat fee because you get a percentage
Correct.
of the total.
So you clarified that question, thank you. Not here to, one way or another, argue this point.
Okay, so we can do this in two motions then?
I have one, I have a motion.
Go ahead,
to do in a
Susan.
second. To approve a 5.9 PTOAM staff, 5.9 pay increase to the PTOAM staff effective April 1, 2025.
In lieu of the 1%, right?
Yeah, it's 5.9%
In lieu
total
of the one.
increase. Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Is Bill part of that union?
Yes.
What was the year that you said? I just said starting 2024, you're right. April 1st,
April.
2024. Keep paying attention.
We got a motion by Kraft, second by Tremblazer. Any other discussion?
I do.
All right.
A couple more questions now that we have a motion. So Mike made a point, I just caught it, that that's in lieu of the 1%.
That they're gonna, that we're
They're
supposed
not
to
getting any COLA or whatever you call that. There's nothing retro on that. And it lasts till, when does their contract renew?
Next,
25?
yeah, next year around March, I believe it is.
It's before the budget year.
And how many people do we have in the union that affects?
You got this list here in your packet.
That's all our union people?
Yeah. For the TPOM.
And who else is
9.
included in this motion?
Only other, that's all. That's all of them are here.
But you, Rhonda's on this list, but you
We
said
have to make a
Rhonda's
separate motion for.
Yeah,
He's
Rhonda's-
not on, yeah.
Is Rhonda on here?
She's handwritten in the bottom.
Well, she's on here, right here.
But the motion was for the TPOAM staff, right?
All right, so then this, it's got Rhonda, it says roads. Is there another roads that works there?
It's Eileen
On the
Road.
list.
That's Eileen.
She's a
Oh,
fire
okay.
department dispatcher.
All right, thank you. There was my, I wasn't clear on that. Okay, so that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, so there's no other further questions. Can we get a roll call, please?
Giorgio.
Yes.
Smith.
No.
Philbrook.
Yes.
Tremblay.
Yes.
Kraft, yes.
Motion carries 4-1. Move on. I would like to make a motion to go ahead and approve Rhonda at the same percentage increase that TPOAM got at a 5.9% increase for the fiscal year 2024. Starting the fiscal year.
I don't think you can do that, Mike, because I think her contract ends before the end of the fiscal year.
What's that?
I think her contract, you can only do it for the term of her contract. We don't have a contract beyond December, I don't believe, right?
For the term, okay, then motion to go ahead and approve the
I think you and I worked on it.
5.9% raise for the starting fiscal year, April 1st, 2024 to the expiration of her contract.
I'll second that.
Second by Tremblay. Do you have any other discussion on it? Can we get a roll call, please?
Smith.
Yes.
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. Tremblay.
Yes.
And Philbrook.
Yes. Motion carries. Let's move on to item 7G, which is set the public hearing for the SMT IFT.
Motion to set a public hearing for the SMTIFT for April 14th, 2024 at 6 PM.
Is that our regular board? Is that-
Yeah. Wait, no, sorry. It's
April 17th.
17th, sorry, yeah.
April 17th, 2024.
I support, or second. We get all in favor? All in favor? It's not dealing with money.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Move on to 7H is our pre-planning meeting fee. If you look at your packet, you'll find that there is two invoices, one of them that includes the pre-planning fee schedule increase for a planning commission member and one without it. My motion is, what the purpose of this is that we sometimes are asked by applicants or builders or developers, can we come in and meet with you and talk about what we would like to do and just kind of get your take on it? In turn, we have our township planner that comes in at $475 an hour. $475 for the meeting. Our township administration fee is $150. And I always make the request to try to bring in at least minimum of one, sometimes two planning commission members that sit in on the meeting. This happened multiple times. A lot of times, as a matter of fact. They come sit down at the meeting, they don't get compensated, they leave their day, their work schedule, whatever it might be during the day. I wanted to add it as a line item. It would be paid by the applicant, and it's no money out of township general fund.
Make a motion.
Motion to go ahead and approve to have the planning commission member fee added to our pre-planning meeting fee schedule.
Support.
Support by DeGiorgio. Anybody got any questions?
I do. So planning commission members, do they generally come to, when they're doing these planning, do they come to these meetings, or can you explain that process a little bit to me, Mike?
Yeah, so if we get asked by a contractor or developer or whatever builder that sometimes they buy a piece of property, it's like, I got these ideas, but I wanted to kind of hash them out with you, what may work, what might not work. So we set up what we call a pre-planning meeting. It's not like a planning commission meeting. It's basically just to go ahead and bring our planner in, myself being planning and zoning our coordinator, and then we got Dana Buchanan comes in as our administrator, and then I always request that one or two of the planning commission members, I call them and see if they can attend, so they're aware of what's going on and what might be taking place, just to keep it transparent. They get $100 per meeting. They don't get compensated for any of this stuff on their days, when they're normal days, coming in, regular thing.
Okay.
Kind of like you're going to be coming in for the special meetings, no additional compensation. I think there is actually for you, but But that's all, it is, and it's paid for out of the, it's on the statement, so this invoice has got to be paid by the, whoever's making the request. The applicant's going to pay for this, so we don't really pay anything more out of it. We just wanted to
So
make
it's
sure.
not an unusual request to have a planning commission member
No.
there. We just have never compensated.
Right.
I'll give you an
$50.
example. In Washington Township, the planning commission members, they get a stipend for every meeting they go to, including these. What Mike's proposing is half the normal
And
stipend.
I
that a
think it's
person
fair.
gets.
Fair.
Yeah.
So that was, did I make that motion? I did, right? Yeah, I made that
Yes.
motion. That's supported by Giorgio. If there's no other discussion, can we get a roll call, please?
Tremblay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kraft, yes. DeGiorgio.
Yes.
And Philbrook.
Yes. Okay, moving on, Board of Reviews alternate appointment of Daryl Blaylock. And so Daryl was our alternate, and Lorraine Dalio was our permanent. And Lorraine's had some health issues, so she wasn't able to make it. Daryl filled in recently at the last Board of Reviews. And now it's been asked that Lorraine would be the alternate and Daryl would come on as our full-time Board of Review person. And I would like to go ahead and make the motion to appoint Daryl Blaylock to the Bruce Township Board of Reviews for his term from January 2024 to January 2026 as the primary, and Lorraine Dalio as the alternate. Does that make sense?
Are these terms that start and end?
So Daryl's term actually expired on January of 2024 here, so we need to.
And what about the other person?
Lorraine's got one more year.
Okay, so we're not reappointing Lorraine, we're just making her an alternate.
Alternate, and Daryl's going to be the,
So 24 to 25.
2024 through January of 2026. January 1st to be exact of each date.
I'll support that.
Does that Board of Review go for a whole year, like January to December? Is that how it works?
It's 2 years.
2 years.
term.
But it's January to
Through
December.
December.
Yeah. Support by Tremblay. Can we, no other discussion, can we get a roll call, please?
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. Tremblay.
Yes.
And Philbrook.
Yes. Item 7J is a Bruce Cemetery donation. You've got in your packet a letter that's requested by the Tracy Harrington, which is the late Steve Farr's daughter. Steve Farr, this was the same type of letter you would get from Steve Farr every year, requesting a donation from Bruce Township. And they always put in here, whatever you can give would really help as far as with the maintenance and upkeep of the cemetery. We basically don't pay anything out of our general fund other than this money to take care of that cemetery. Last year, they were requesting $1,750. We gave them a donation of $1,500. They did open up a big area on the east side of the cemetery. They cleared a bunch of brush there, and they are, I'm not sure at this point, but I'm thinking they have more areas for burials out there. So they're looking, whatever we can give them again this year, I would be willing to make a motion to approve $1,500 again this year.
Support.
Is that enough?
They haven't made any special requests to do anything, so,
Okay,
I'm hoping it is. They're very self-sufficient. I give them that credit.
okay.
I think that Tracy's a chip off of
Yeah, I
the old
like
man's
Tracy.
block.
She's good people.
How did she become president?
Well, they have their board, it's a board that they have, and I don't want to try to interfere with that.
I just didn't know how that worked, so.
I think when the old man stepped, when he left, and she kind of automatically inherited it. Maybe, he was a great guy and miss him dearly. But it was nice because we never get any issues out there at all.
He maintained that cemetery for a long time.
Right. And Tracy helped him too. And,
Yeah.
Motion in a second. Do we have any other discussion? If not, can we get a roll call, please?
Tremblay.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. Smith.
Yes.
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Philbrook.
That was $1,500, right?
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. Item 7K, which is our wastewater permit renewal. I don't have any paperwork in here, but I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. We renewed this last year. There's a cost of $1,950. This permit is in Chester Wachowski's name. It's a sewer treatment plant permit from the state of Michigan, which is very hard to get. It took him a really long time and hundreds of thousands of dollars. We still don't at this point know what we're going to do with our sewer. And if we're going to look at trying to build a sewer treatment plant, this permit is a big part of being able to do that, or make that process. I called Chester today, and it's like, Chester, I says, I might have a hard time, getting my board to approve this permit again one more time. I says, what's going to happen if we don't renew it this year? And he says, well, I'm probably just going to let it expire. And I says, well, if you're going to let it expire, why don't you let us make an option, not the option to my board to renew it, and we could have the permit transferred into our name, and we would at least have ownership of the permit. And he thought that that would be okay with
Is it transferable?
It is transferable to name, but basically from site, so the permit would still have to be used on the east side of Powell Road and on the Armada side, where the permit is from, off of Chester's property behind Romeo.
Isn't that the property that Romeo annexed?
Not all of it. Oh, maybe, yeah, there is not, they have an island there, but there is, a lot of the property is owned by Romeo.
So how would it benefit us? It's in Rome, it's Armada, it's owned by him, it's.
Well, we would, if we were going to, if you're going to put a sewer treatment plant in, for one, you're going to need to get a permit. For number two, you're going to have to get a piece of property. You have to build it.
But I don't think the permit is transferable to another piece of property.
No, it's not. It would have to be done on his side, but at the same time, it would benefit Armada, and we could bring in a portion of Ray, which we've already discussed this. And we're running out of sewer.
But if the
so-
property was annexed by Romeo, does that complicate the equation? Would we need some kind of permission from Romeo?
I think that that's their industrial, and if the sewer treatment plant's under their industrial, we won't need a special land use. If we were able to buy the property, we could still put a sewer treatment plant in under their manufacturing or industrial district.
But isn't there plans for something to go in there already? That's
Not all
why it
the
was
properties
annexed?
right- Not
so
all the
that-
properties right now.
Is there enough property left over to do an industrial wastewater treatment plant?
Again, not just, when we first started, everybody thought we had plenty of sewer capacities. I just printed off the sheets. We're at around, we hit 480,000 gallons a day a couple of times this month, or over the past 6 months. We're allowed 510. So if you can do the math on it, you're looking at 30,000 gallons a day before your development just comes to a stop and your revenue stream's going to end. This board needs to really think about which way we're going to go with this. And we can't keep kicking the can down the road because it's going to end up biting us in the ass here in the real near future. Because all I'm saying is we invest $1,950. Somebody else, I put a lot of work and a lot of research into trying to get a waste treatment plant in there before the Village of Romeo annexed that property, bringing Armada on as a user as we are with Romeo, and also bringing Ray on. And that got shot down. But somebody's going to have to step up to the plate and do some work and some research to figure out which way this township's going to go, because it's not going to end. It's going to come faster than we
Armada
think.
refused last time to go in on it with us.
Who?
So Armada, we talked about having Armada help. us.
Armada,
They
yeah. They didn't do it. So
So
this-
for $1,950, that can be transferred to Bruce Township.
we can make sure that we won't approve it unless it's in Bruce Township's name. And like I said, Chester,
But that's the cost, $1,950.
to renew it.
Per year.
For a year, every
Why
year.
renewed it
1 year.
once?
It's a renewable license.
And we have no idea how much property is available if we wanted to potentially build a plant in the future.
There is property along East Pond Creek on the east side of Armada, which I think that if we had that license and it was next door, let's say just to the north of Chester's property, which I know there's some vacant land along there, I don't think there would be a problem with Eagle transferring it from in close proximity. The issue with Eagle is they only can allow so much discharge into a river or into a flowing riverbed type, I guess you would say. But it's not like the permit is going to go to they won't allow it to go to another area where there's another discharge permit, like by where the Village of Romeo's wastewater treatment plant. You see what I'm saying? They just need to be
I follow you.
controlled.
I'm just wondering if, we haven't done enough research on it to be able to justify, I know what you're saying, once the permit's gone, it's gone. I get it. personally, I think it's probably money well spent while you're trying to figure out if you can put up a treatment plant or if there's even enough property to do that, and you're only sacrificing 1 year. I mean, if
We did it already
you
for
do some
one.
research and you find that it's not feasible, then
I mean, it's saying in a hard, I mean, like I said, in order for him to get the permit, I think he spent over $200,000 it took him 2 years to get the permit, and a couple $100,000, if I'm not mistaken, for legal reasons, whatever the case might be. You know, we have it, maybe given to us if it's put in our name for $1,950, and I have to go through the process. I agree with you, it's money well spent, but what's the purpose of having the piece of paper if this board or this township's not going to do anything to move forward about
well,
getting our...
that's my point. That's
Right.
the point I'm making.
Yeah.
We haven't done enough research to see if it's a feasible option for us.
Yeah, but if you do research down your road and you find out it is optional, are you gonna willing to spend $200,000 to get that permit back again?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
To me,
right.
it's well worth
It's a- right,
spending
right.
the 1950 for the next year
Yeah,
while we look into
okay, I
what's a
misunderstood
feasible
you, but yeah,
option.
you're right. That's,
The feasible option is to get some help, financial help from
Which
somebody.
We
Did a-
still have to look into it. I mean, do we have that kind of time and resources to do that?
Mike applied for, or I think we applied for a grant, right?
Applied for a $15 million grant with letter supports from Armada and from Ray Township. And to be really honest with you, after I got the water main grant, all the documentation and paperwork going through, it's a federal grant, so it's very, very hard to get the money out of them once you get approved. I do have a lady that's kind of working on it right now to try to get us the appropriations on the water main grant for $2 million that was approved for. And then once the grant gets moving along and that money is become allocated to us, then she gets paid out of that grant. You know, we just, it's documented that way. But it's a lot of hard work, you know, I mean.
So are you talking yourself out of doing this? Is that what's going on?
I haven't been able to get, I received a grant over a year ago for $2 million. I haven't been able to get one dime yet, you know, so it's like, I don't even know where the $15 million grant's at right now. I haven't heard anything, and I'm not sure if we even got approved for it. It was denied, but it was a start. But no, I think it's still got to keep moving forward, but if I don't get the support from the board, you know, if somebody else, I can't be the only one coming up with the ideas or having to, you know, get the ball rolling here, you know, so, but.
make a motion that we renew the permit for
If-
wastewater treatment
If we can get it in our name.
and also get it transferred in Bruce Township.
I'll support that.
So is it contingent on it getting transferred to our name?
What do you guys want to do?
I think it should be, because if it can't be, we can't use it.
Well, no,
Oh,
we
yeah.
can still use it.
Still use it.
Yeah.
How can you use it if it's not, if it doesn't
Property
belong
owner,
to
I
us?
mean, I don't,
And we don't own the property.
well, let's just see, I'll find out that information, but, okay.
What, now, what's the motion again? I second but now there's a contingency.
Well, I thought that was talked, that it would be contingent upon being able to transfer it to our name. Then it's our permit.
Oh, I thought it was already no.
It belongs to somebody else.
Yeah. But also, and can we use it on a different piece of property?
We can't.
No, we
can't.
already
You
know
gotta
we
use
You
can't.
have to use it there. So that's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, it's site-specific, but we're talking the same general region, the same general,
Area.
Area that
Where the river
Eagle's
flows,
already
or the
approved.
creek, yeah.
so I don't think that would be, so it won't take a 2-year process and probably a bunch of legal fees to get it approved through Eagle, but we may have to fight a little bit, you know. Okay, so the motion is basically to go ahead and
I
approve
make a
950.
motion to renew the Eagle permit contingent upon it being transferred in Bruce Township's name.
And Trish, you
And
second.
I'll support that, yes.
We got a motion with support. There's no other discussion. Can we get a roll call, please?
Tremblay.
You need somebody to do this.
Yeah, I know, her mom died.
I said, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I say yes.
Philbrook,
Yes.
Kraft, Smith,
Yes.
DeGiorgio.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to item 7L, which is the Romeo Wastewater Committee. Here we are, the sewer again. So when we were talking fire negotiation, the subject did come up from Justin Parker from the Village of Romeo. If we wanted to get back into maybe look at negotiations with the availability of additional sewer from the Village of Romeo, and I said, well, sure, I'm always open to sit down and negotiate with you or whatever. The last time they came to us, they said that they would give us 100,000 gallons of sewer for $1 million. And that was, the price is to get it an additional 100,000 gallons of sewer. Is that what I said the first time?
It was $1 million up front plus
Yeah.
a bigger percentage.
$1 million.
That was an upfront cost.
So that was a flat-out no, and basically the doors closed and they haven't opened since then because it's not even worth negotiating, just to, you know.
We'll put that towards our treatment plant.
Yeah. So, yeah. So if somebody else wants to be on the committee with me, I'd be more than happy to sit down with them. Like to get the committee formed, see what they got to say, maybe, you know, it's hard to negotiate it.
What kind of sounds like they're not interested in?
He was trying because he knows that we've got something that, we have the fire contract and then they have the sewer contract, and we can't, us ourselves, we can't pay our sewer bill out of our fire contract. We have to have our sewer fund and everything's got to be separated, where Romeo's a little bit different. Everything goes kind of into their general fund and then they disperse it to their different categories out of their general fund, and they can kind of, we can't commingle the funds here. So, but that's how the discussion opened up. But anyway, you want to look at it is, let's just say it's $1 million. We give them a check for $1 million and they give us a check for $1 million. You know, it's how we can come up with the, you know, wording on it. So, not going to hurt to sit down with them, you know, so see what they got to say.
I can tell you, Mike, I'm fundamentally opposed to paying $1 million. Because we've never asked the village to pay us upfront costs for investments we made in our fire department.
So when they made the proposal for $1 million, that was like a year ago, I basically pretty much got up from the table and walked out. I'm not going to pay $1 million. I'm not going to pay a dime
We're buying a service.
for capital
We're not-
improvements that they
we're
did
not
on their
paying for
building
Capital improvements, they don't pay for.
20 years ago. I mean, it's just not
They
right.
own the sewer treatment plant. It's their responsibility to upgrade and maintain it, and all that other stuff. They shouldn't be asking us for a dime.
Right.
I will be on the committee with you. If you want. Or if somebody else wants.
Frank and Chief, you want to dive into the sewer committee?
Thank you.
Thanks, but no thanks.
I think my plate's a little full.
He's
Thank
lost
you,
his
though.
hair over all the stress, okay.
Yeah.
And his
See what
eyebrows.
happened?
Okay. So do
Thank
we
you
have
for
a motion?
considering me, but I think. my
Just
plate's
two of
full.
us?
No, you can't have a quorum.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right, two's good. All right, Frank, thanks. So Frank, myself will be on this motion to go ahead and approve Frank DeGiorgio and Mike Philbrook to sit on the sewer committee to negotiate sewer rates with the Village of Romeo.
Second.
Second by Tremblay. All our roll call.
Smith?
Smith, you said?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Kraft, yes. DeGiorgio?
Yes.
Tremblay?
Yes.
Philbrook.
Yes. Okay, this concludes it. So we're in the communications. Trish, you want to start us out?
I don't really have anything at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Frank?
No?
Okay, I'll go next since we'll just stay in line. I only have one thing. Just want to say St. Baldrick's was a great success at the Romeo Lions Club. They were made north of $115,000. They had 107 shavies. This is just a great community building event. We had everybody participated in there. Our fire department came. Our own Steve Nakis, Brandon Casper. Obviously, Steve had his head shaved. We had the Mid-TV that it filmed. The CBS was there, WDIV. We had kids from the elementary school. This is the fourth grade choir we're singing. We had Herman Moore come there. We're looking to build on it and make it bigger and better every year. So thanks to Tom Martin, our Lions Club president, all of our members. Great job. So, and all the local businesses contributed also. Anything you want to add to it, Chief, while I'm on the subject?
I just want to thank everybody. It was a great event. It was nice to see it back in Lionsfield and Romeo. Everybody had a great time. Appreciate all the support. And it's a near and dear cause to my heart, so thank you.
All right, that's all I got right now, Susan. You want to come to you next?
Remind everybody, May 4th is the shredding date here in the parking lot here at 9 to noon. I'd like to say that we're hiring election workers to work election day, early voting election day setup. And I got a letter from the Methodist Church informing us of their 200th year anniversary, and they're doing a celebration on June 16th at 10 a.m. That's a long time, since 1824 they first came into Romeo.
June 16th, 10 a.m.?
Yep. I'll mention it again, just to remind everybody.
Sure.
Down the road.
Yeah, I got a flyer right here. You want-
200 years.
200 years,
Amazing.
right, to be in existence and to be the Methodist Church.
I want to
all the
know, how
time.
many fish dinners have they served?
It's, like, if anybody wants to. What else you got?
So,
While she mentioned hiring, I forgot to say, if there's anybody that would like to apply for either the planning commission or board of reviews, it would go on file. We don't need anybody right now, but please come on and fill out an application at the clerk's office.
which?
Board of reviews of
Oh,
planning
board.
commission to make sure we got applicants on hand. So,
Susan, is that paper shredding also including electronic recycling or
No.
just paper
It's
shredding?
paper.
Mike, go ahead. What you got?
Okay, there was no planning commission meeting in March. The ZBA had a meeting. It was a special meeting to accomplish one thing, to update their schedule, so everybody's on a 6 PM meeting time. And then Chief, you and I talked about this already. I just wanted to share it with the board. Steve, when you became chief, we all felt that you had the best qualifications, your business experience, your business acumen, your ability to work with fire folks. And one thing that was very impressive to me was your 30, 60, 90-day plan. If you could sometime at a future meeting, kind of give us an update of where we're at with that. And
Get
then,
that done next board meeting.
super, thank you, and thanks for all your work. The other thing that the board has approved 4 different things with the union that we invested, spending a little extra money to get some benefits. And I just wanted to know if we could get like that.
Update.
An update, and one is the grant writing position. I just want to remind, all grants should come here first before anybody writes one, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Including fire
Before
department.
they submit it, yes.
Before they submit, yeah. So,
I'm in trouble on that one.
yeah.
We
they're
submitted
in
3.
trouble.
Ruh-roh.
But
Ruh-roh.
I talked to Steve about that.
Lucy.
So,
I missed that in the.
yeah, but we need to,
Grant.
well, you probably weren't aware of it, so.
I really wasn't. I
but-
should have been.
But we knew, we do that. So I'd like to know where we're at with that, because I haven't seen any grants come through the fire department. We approved that back in January of '23. Medium duty assignments, how's that working out? We approved a new medium duty assignment, you guys remember? It was called modified duty.
Modified
I think
duty.
everybody calls it light duty, it's
Yes.
called modified duty.
They should medium duty.
Yeah, oh, and maybe I did say that.
I told him that.
And then there's a peer fitness trainer. They were supposed to do semi-annual fitness assessments for all personnel based on NFRA 1583, which I assume is some firefighting
It is.
physical standard.
Right.
I'd like to know how are we doing on that, and
It's just
is
in our
everybody doing
contract.
good?
That's contractual.
She's real good about keeping us informed. Teresa and I know, it's Lisa and I were on that committee. so.
Yeah. And then the general maintenance and small engine repair coordinator position. My understanding is they're saving the township money, just like, get like how, let the community know, here's what we did and here's what we say. That's all I got.
You want an
Thank
update on the modified duty policy?
Just how it's working. You don't even need to do anything, any data, but just, have we used it? Is it appropriate? I know we have an instance where we have one kind of outlier that we're working on.
Right.
Thank you.
No problem.
That's it.
Chief?
Good.
Nothing?
No,
Thanks,
we'll wait
Sheriff.
till next month. That's
Double up next
It's
month?
a tall task, so I'll take it on. It'll take me about a
Yeah,
month.
you can't get it all done in 1 month, Steve. I'm just interested.
Well, if you did your 30, 60, 90 days in 2
Right.
weeks, so.
No. So,
That would be
no,
impressive.
We're good on the fire department side right now.
Good.
You know, it's the end of the year.
Okay.
Moving forward. Appreciate the support.
Thank you, Chief. Okay. If we got nothing else for this board to discuss, I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9 PM.
Support.
Support by DeGiorgio, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, appreciate it.